How am I? I'm doing pretty good. Life has been very busy, but that's a good thing. Yeah, so everyone now is saying it sounds better, so that's awesome. I'm very, very glad. Game engine tutorials, Windows 10 is amazing. I completely agree. I mean, and especially now that I'm studying Microsoft stuff, like I'm actually going for an MCSA, I started using like Hyper-V and stuff built into Windows 8 and 8.1. Hyper-V is awesome. I mean, it's only meant to run Windows, so you can't run like Linux or OS 10 or anything in it like you can with VMware, like ESXi and all the like VirtualBox and all those other little more client-based solutions. Not that ESXi is a client-based solution, but like VirtualBox is, like Parallels on the Mac and stuff. But Hyper-V for what it is awesome. I absolutely love it. Been a pleasure to work with. My old X58A UD3R system, I actually converted into a Windows Server 2012 host, and that has Hyper-V running. And like I have my own little domain in my house with like obviously a domain controller. I'm trying to work on like a deployment server and sort all that stuff out. I'm trying to do some group policies and stuff, and I'm really just trying to study and get an MCSA because I really do want to be like a systems administrator. Right now I'm just kind of in support, and I kind of do the next level stuff, but nowhere near as much as I would like to. So I want to move into that systems admin place. The build probably won't be starting for a little bit yet. Dante will be joining us. So those of you who haven't watched or aren't familiar with Tech Habit Weekly, it's the podcast that we used to do / hope to bring back. I've said that like 1,000 times, but being two people in completely different states, two completely different time zones with a whole laundry list of stuff that we each have to worry about, it's very hard to organize a time. There's never like one day a week that will always work. It's just been impossible to schedule a time that we're all available, ready to go, ready to do the show. So it's just been on a huge hiatus. Hey you're awesome, and don't let anybody get you down. Have an amazing day. I like that. Yeah, I've really haven't been doing any YouTube at all. Honestly, it's just not quite the priority that it used to be. As much as I hate that, there's only so many hours in a day. And now that I'm working full time, 8 to 5 every day, I have stuff I'm doing outside of work and studying and stuff. I mean, YouTube in college was like a huge priority for me. I did that. I did like YouTube and videos a lot more than I studied, a lot more. And now that I'm out of college and have a full-time job to put 110% into, I really just, when I come home, recording a video just is most days just kind of just, I'd rather just relax, play a game, watch some TV, go out, see things, do things. So it's kind of been put on the back burner. Not that I'm quitting YouTube or anything, because I really do appreciate every single one of you guys. I mean, over the years, I started YouTube back in like 2006, 2007. So I've been doing this stuff for like almost a decade. And honestly, it's gotten me to amazing places. I mean, YouTube is, I think, a big reason why I got such what I consider to be a pretty darn good job fresh out of college with no experience, because the experience was on the internet and they could see that I'm not, just some dude that just graduated with some degree. I actually worked towards something and used skills and taught other people things, and they really liked that. So I don't regret YouTube at all. I still hope to do it for a long time to come. I just can't give it the care and attention that I used to. And I do apologize for that, but with ad revenue how it is, and a lot of really, really good channels struggling just because of how ad revenue is and needing to do Patreon campaigns and stuff, I just don't like that. I don't like Patreon. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not my type of thing. I just don't like asking for money or for a subscription service. This stuff for me will always be free. So, I mean, if I can't make a living out of it, then I just can't put the time into it. So that's pretty much all it comes down to. Eric, unfortunately, can't make it. He is a fellow geek, like I'm sure all of us are, but he is working in school, towards his degree and everything. But until he does like building houses and stuff. And not to give too much information into his personal life or anything, but that doesn't always, it's not like an office job, like a desk job, 9 to 5. You have to work when you have to work. And so for him, it just ended up not working out. Dante will be here though, probably within like, I'd say 20 minutes or so. So once Dante gets here, we'll start the build. This is just some, precursor stuff going on here, just to catch up with you guys, I guess. So, but yeah, I mean, how you all been? I mean, have any of you guys started doing YouTube channels? You build your own computers? Let me know something you've done that's awesome in the last 6 months in the comments below, and I'll go ahead and I'll read it. Just trying to pass some time here because I know you guys all really want to see the build. And one thing also that I do want to mention is that this build is pretty much going to be just that, a build. I know there's a ton of people that get frustrated when they watch a build and they want to see me actually, install OS 10 and everything, get it up and running, and they get kind of ticked off when I don't include that. But if there's time today, then I'll probably dive into that a little bit, because I do already have somewhere a Unibeast drive already made to get it up on the running. Kernel's already patched and everything for X99. But my logic is that I already have videos that show exactly, even on X99, on almost the exact same hardware, how to get it up and running. And so it's kind of like a duplication of information almost, because I mean, there's a link like right on my channel where you can watch the entire very detailed in-depth installation. So that's just my opinion. But like I said, if there is time, then I will go ahead and do some software side of things on the stream as well. You built your very first Hackintosh because of me. Awesome. What happened to the RocheTechnology IRC? It just wasn't really being used. And actually, Eric was the one. A lot of you guys don't even know Eric exists, but he was a forum member. That's actually how he first contacted me, and we just became buds after that. He actually hosted that at his own cost for me. Totally random, totally awesome. But then because it wasn't being used, the cost wasn't worth it for him to run it. So I was perfectly fine. I was like, dude, please, like, don't pay for something that's not being used. I mean, honestly, I think YouTube comments like this in the live stream have gotten better over the years, and it's fine now. IRC is kind of a aged old technology nowadays anyway. Not that it's not used, but I started doing business computer repair because of me. Glad to hear it. Gonna buy a Mac Pro soon as well. What kind of Mac Pro? Are you gonna get the little trash can black cylinder, or are you gonna get like a old school cheese grater Mac Pro? My Power Mac G5 case is housing my girlfriend's Hackintosh. She has a Z68X UD3H B3 motherboard, so obviously the Z68 platform, which is Sandy Bridge, socket 1155. She has an i7 2700K, 8 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance memory, and an AMD Radeon HD 6870 GPU. She has the gigabyte version, and that version has 2 mini display ports, as well as HDMI and 2 DVI, I think. And let me tell you what, that card is a monster. I mean, she went to school for visual effects. She works and does commercials and all the effects and stuff. And she did some amazing work on that 1 gig card. It powered 2 1440p cinema displays at the same time with After Effects and rendering and weekend-long renders, literally at the CPU 100% the entire weekend. And that system is rock solid. Those Sandy Bridge chips just don't mess around. To this day, that's still an extremely awesome build. I would love to join Bob Roche's Minecraft server. I don't know if you were here back then, but I actually did have one of those, and it just got to be too much to handle. There was just a lot of, I don't want to say this, but it's just kind of what it was. Little kids that shouldn't be on the internet on my server, and just causing a lot of just bad. So it once something to me like starts to be just such a pain to run, it's just not worth it because it's not fun anymore. So I mean, I had to pay for that and everything, and it's just nah. There's other servers out there, trust me. Clover did the trick. Yeah, I'm actually a very big fan of Clover, and I only do the Unibeast method. Well, actually, I should say this. I do the mixed method. It's like a hybrid. You do the actual installation with the Unibeast because it's just a really easy utility. You just literally click, click, click. If you have X99, copy and paste the terminal command to patch the kernel, copy one text over, and you're golden, you're fine. compared to like the more manual way. It's just more of a pain. And then the post installation, you install Clover and then you can configure it with Clover Configurator. I love that. And you know, I have iMessage working on my machine now. It's not booted into OS 10 right now, but it is up and running. It's working. It's beautiful, I should say. But yeah, Clover is definitely awesome. First Hackintosh motherboard was Z77DS3H. That was an awesome motherboard. That's another one of those, what was that? Is that Ivy? I think it was Ivy Bridge, the Z77. Those are really rock solid boards. And then the DS3H didn't have like a ton of really crazy advanced features, but my brother, actually, I built him a Hackintosh with that board. Actually, no, his wife, I built a Hackintosh for with that board. And it's awesome. It's a great system. And my brother actually has a Hackintosh as well. He's like a full-on Mac user, music producer. I actually have a video on my channel with him in it. If you go on YouTube and you just type building a Hackintosh for audio production, you can watch that. He has darn near the exact same as my old system, the X58 chipset, the X58A UD3R board with a Core i7-9. He has a 950. I had a 930, 12 gigabytes of RAM. Still to this day is rock solid. So definitely awesome. Just because hardware is old doesn't mean it's bad by any means. Did the Mix 2 following my video? I assume you mean the UniBeast Clover. I think that's the method that just works the best. It's the fastest / best result, I feel. Just my opinion. Am I going to install El Capitan? No, I'm just going to stick with Yosemite. I don't, especially because it's not my machine. I mean, I don't ship the machine with the OS on it anyway because this is a client build. This isn't mine. Speaking of which, RocheTechnology.com/customize or RocheTechnology.com/customize-a-computer. I think there's links in the description. But yeah, especially because it's a client machine, you know, it's just, I'm going to test the OS on it, do some stress tests on it, run Windows on it, do some stress tests there, make sure there's no defective hardware, and ship it. That's just kind of my thing. So I don't like to just go crazy and run a whole bunch of tests, like try to install this operating system and this, like, I don't like to do that too much on a client machine, and I haven't even really downloaded the beta. I haven't tried to install it on my Hackintosh yet, so not quite yet. It's still pretty beta from what I hear. An X99 UD4, that's actually what we'll be using today. This guy right here, and we'll go ahead and we'll switch the angle to something a little more friendly, like that. So here's the X99 UD4, same motherboard that I know most of you guys know is in my machine. Absolutely awesome motherboard. I mean, especially for the price, this thing packs a serious punch. And especially because this build, you have the 5930K as opposed to the 5820K like I have. You can actually use all 40 of those PCI lanes on this board, despite its very reasonable price. So I think it's a win-win. It's a very powerful motherboard. So yeah, definitely a win-win in my eyes. Don't have money. I'm a high school student. I've been there. That's when I got started into computers. My first computer, like my X58 system, I was actually only able to build because of all the money I got for graduating. I mean, before that, I had an E-Machines. It was a dual-core Pentium D. The board maxed out at 2 gigs of RAM. I had, I think, a 256 meg card. And at that point, I was already into YouTube. And even at 480p, which I was editing in back in the day, because back in 2005, 2006, 2007, that was perfectly acceptable. Even that, my CPU was always 100%. It took forever to do anything. It was terrible. And finally, I graduated and I got, I want to say about $1,200, I think, just because there's a huge party with all my whole entire family there. And so if any of you were watching, I really appreciate it, because that system is what got me into the Hackintosh world. And well, I assume a lot of the guys in this chat room into the Hackintosh world. So that was a very monumental system. Even when that motherboard finally does croak, it just dies, I am never throwing that thing out. I'm going to mount that on the wall and frame it somehow before I throw it out. Yep, dual core Pentium D. The case was absolutely tiny. Like, there's no room to work. IDE hard drive, so it was a blast. Yeah, it came with Windows XP 2005, or Media Center 2005, I think, is what it came with. And I remember I got like a bundle, and I actually bought the computer at Best Buy. I mean, I think that was like 2004, something like that, 2004 or 2005. I think is when I bought that. And I had a bundle, so I got like a 19-inch monitor with it. And at the time, back in that day, a flat screen monitor alone was crazy, let alone one that big. It was awesome. Yeah, 100% on boot up. Yeah, I mean, when you'd finally get to the desktop, it would run at 100%, and you'd see like your Windows gadgets. Once I ran and upgraded it to Vista, by the way, huge freaking mistake, especially on a system like that. Vista was awful, as you all know. And that thing would run 100%, just running my gadgets and stuff for a good 2 minutes before it would finally calm down at the desktop. Oh, the Hackintosh juice. Yeah, actually, yeah. What I do here is I got some Baja Blast. So as most of you guys know, fellow fatties like me, you can only get this at Taco Bell. But last summer was the first summer that they did it. But you can actually buy it in a bottle, limited time. It's been out for like a month or two now. I think it's only a summer thing, so this is probably the last month for it. But what I do, something that, working with computers, and when you have a drink like this, you leave it on the table, you get that nice little wet ring. What I do is I put all my drinks, and I do this all the time now. First off, let me show you guys. This was a Kickstarter my girlfriend and I invested in. It's beerblizzard.com. It's just this little thing that you stick in your freezer, put it in a koozie, and put your beer on top or whatever you're drinking. And this thing really does keep it cold until the last drop. It is absolutely awesome. So I just take this guy, throw it in a mug, and then I put the drink in there. And so now there's no, condensation circle on the table. So there's a little life hack for you guys. I find it funny too that Hackintosh juice is still a thing. I'll take that as a compliment. I really should stop drinking soda, but I have really cut back. I remember back in college, I could probably find a picture of it somewhere actually, but in my college dorm room, the 1 year I lived on campus, we had shared a mini fridge, and my roommate would always get so ticked off at me because I would buy a 36-pack of Mountain Dew and just shove it all in there. And the whole entire mini fridge was Mountain Dew, and it'd be gone in like a few days. Like I'd wake up, my breakfast would be a Mountain Dew. I'd go home between classes to the dorm, get a Mountain Dew, have one for lunch. I'd have like 4 or 5 cans a day. That had to stop. So now I'm down to like 1 can a day, usually, unless it's like a really long night or something. And now my long nights aren't like homework or studying, which is awesome. Now it's like working on MCSA studying, and so it's not like a homework assignment that's due the next morning that I haven't even started yet. But a late night still will constitute some caffeine. So white MacBook, yes, right over here. Here, I'll go ahead and I'll switch this back again. That is the white MacBook. This thing is still kicking. Right now it's on Mavericks. I did upgrade to Yosemite, but I just felt that Mavericks ran smoother, but that was like 10.9. That wasn't even like 10.9.1, or sorry, 10.10, not 10.10.1, 10.10.2. So at that point, the OS was still quite young. I know it's gotten better. I've just been lazy to upgrade it. So there's that. Yeah, Saks, man. I really was bad with Mountain Dew. It was bad. I don't recommend it. Same MacBook, yep. That MacBook I actually did upgrade. I think I have a video on this on my channel. I upgraded the RAM to 8 gigs, and then I have a data doubler. I took the optical drive out, and so there's the drive that it came with, and then I put a solid state in the optical drive's place, and now it's a fusion drive. It's a 250 gig drive, 60 gig solid state, so it's one logical 310 gig volume, and it runs like a freaking champ. That thing got me through college. Your Hackintosh juice is coffee. 10.10.4 works perfect on it. See, yeah, I'll probably eventually upgrade it, but then again, I might just say I've waited this long. I'll just wait for like 10.11.2 and just go straight to El Capitan. I might as well. By the way, El Capitan, I hate that name. It's way too much to say. Even Yosemite, that's 4 syllables. I want like Mavericks. Tiger. Those are all like 2 syllables. Leopard. Snow leopard was kind of 3. Oh, look at this. We have Dante calling. Let me put my headphones on. I mean, I'll probably eventually upgrade it. But then again, I might. Hello, sir.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going.
It's going, huh?
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
All right, let
Man,
me see if I can crop this shot up here a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Casey Nightmare himself.
sorry that I'm late.
Hey, not a problem. We're kicking it old school. We're talking about first computers and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow. Speaking of, there's a big Dell XPS 710 sitting right here. That was back when like the Core 2 quad extremes and stuff were out. I mean,
Yeah, I remember
yeah,
them.
that thing's rocking all the way from 2005. So,
That's
uh,
awesome.
it actually works though. And um, where I work, they were throwing it away. So I was like, well, let's see if
Yeah.
I can do something with it. And I'll probably just make it to like a media server or something.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it
Oh,
has ample CPU for a media
oh yeah,
server.
definitely. So I love using Stream to Me for Mac OS, but I do a lot of boot camp now because of Windows 10 and some SCCM training that I'm doing with Microsoft and different certifications and things like that. So I like to be able to still have a media server with basically just being a dedicated machine, since my main machine is my beast that my Mac Pro. So yeah, so we'll see. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's nothing really to brag about. That thing is old. But back in the day, that was like the top of the line. I remember they were like ridiculously priced too. They were like $2,500, like in
Yeah.
that Mac Pro range and everything. So
Yeah, it shows how far we've come.
yeah, I mean that thing's like a BTX case too. A lot of people like the case, but they don't understand you have to do a lot of case modifications, throw like an ATX case in it, so you have to do like a motherboard, a tray, and all that type of things in there. So um, yeah, sometimes it's just not worth it. There's a couple guys who actually did it, and it doesn't look horrible, but it just depends.
Yeah.
So
Purely depends on your use case.
right. So what's been going on in life?
Yeah, work. You know how it is.
Yeah.
You just started your job, right?
I've been on a job for about a month now, and
Yeah, how's it going?
it's really good, but there's just certain things that they don't really tell you. I work for a school district, so there's just certain things they don't tell you, and it's not that they're hard things. It's just they're more of a protocol thing. Like, okay, how do we do it here?
Uh
And then
huh.
they go, oh yeah, we didn't tell you the steps on that. Like everything makes sense of what they're trying to do, but they never give you the protocol on how to start it. But it'll change. I've already learned a bunch of it and pretty much take care of a lot of the stuff myself now. So yeah, it's cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I like it a lot. Get to touch everything: server switches, desktops, laptops, using Mac OS, iOS, Windows 10. Pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It keeps you sharp on annoying
You
stuff.
reserve your copy of Windows 10?
Yeah, I did, and for some reason the download in the background didn't work right for some reason. I don't know. It was sat there for like a day, like a full day, and so I did a link that was through Tech Radar, and it worked just fine. But I got it running on my Mac Pro, and that thing is like I honestly had to like boot into this, into OS 10 because like I was on Windows 10 for forever.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a
Yeah,
lot.
it's awesome. I mean, they finally got it right for sure.
Yeah. So um, there's a lot of things going on though. So especially with newer technology that's coming out now with like the USB 3.1, different things like that, more adaptations of USB-C. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
really excited about. So you gotta excuse me trying to like wolf down some food.
That's all right, man. I did the same thing earlier. I had to.
I'm dying.
Yep, I know exactly how it is. Yeah, so
So
we'll give you a second to get caught up on your grub.
okay,
But yeah, guys in the chat, they look like they missed you.
yeah.
Look at him blushing.
That Mac Pro is a beast.
Yeah.
It gets the job done. It's definitely not the fastest 6 core Xeons, but
It's still
so
a
far
six core Xeon.
I haven't ran into anything where I'm like I need more power or more processing power or anything yet.
Yeah.
Um, but just like rendering video and everything. I mean, I don't care what you throw at it. Final Cut Pro will take it. They don't care.
Oh yeah,
So
especially
it'll
like
make
because you have an AMD card in there, don't you, as a primary card?
not anymore.
Oh, okay.
I got the GTX 760 now. So but it's the 4 GB one, so that thing is actually really good. I haven't
Yeah.
had any issues running any games or rendering or anything. And it's a lot quieter than the AMD card. So the AMD card actually made me money. It's weird. I bought it for like 250, sold it for like 340 something on eBay. I was like,
Wow.
yeah, but it was a legit Apple card, so
Man, you
not
get
happy.
lucky with these deals.
Well, what happened was the guy had I actually lost the bid. But the guy, I was like the second highest bidder, so he just sent me a message over eBay and said, "Hey, look, I've got one more if you want it." And he was like, "What were you trying to pay?" I was like, 250. So he hurried up and made one, like a 250
Wow.
buy now, and I hit it. So,
It's awesome.
yeah,
See, I don't have that luxury of getting all these deals that you do. But I
yeah,
think it's honestly just where you live. Like in Pittsburgh, that stuff doesn't exist. In Kansas City or around Kansas City, absolutely.
yeah. I mean, it's not like it used to be. When me and Terrell used to get all those crazy deals, and now,
Oh, really?
you're
That
lucky to
sucks.
find any.
Yeah,
Yeah,
welcome to my world.
I think people actually got smart about using Macs and just a bunch of different hardware and software. Not well, not software, but more hardware. It's like people just started actually reading up on it instead of just getting rid of it for dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Because we used to get a MacBook. I mean, I'm talking 2010, 2011 for like 200, and I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, you got your Mac Pro, which was what, an 8 core at the time, two quad
mm-hmm,
cores.
for
You got
500.
that for like what, $500?
500. Yeah, and the guy was like, "Is
Disgusting.
that enough? Is that enough?" He's like, "That's not too much, is it?" I'm like,
That's
"No."
hilarious.
So I could have got it cheaper, but I felt like I was stealing it from him. Um, Mac man, I'm still running the three triple Asus 24-inch thin bezel monitors. I've been running those forever. I feel like one of them was going to burn out though. I think it's my far left one. You guys can't see it, but the far left one that kind of flashes every now and again, kind of like how yours started messing up, Bob. And
Yep.
um,
I had to get a new one. Mine just died. The panel just was black. Wouldn't
yeah,
do anything.
so we'll see. I still like them. I mean, of course, I would like to have some higher resolution at some point, some more desktop real estate because I use all of my real estate. I'm talking. There's always something on all three all the time. So yeah, it's really good. And I still have my MacBook Pro. I'm still using the 2011 um, MacBook Pro, 16 gigs of RAM and 240 SSD. My 750 gig drive actually blew up on me, so now I've replaced that with a 500 gig. So
Wow.
yeah, it was just random.
Yeah, my the 290X. I mean, as you know, Dante, and I'm sure as everyone else knows, the 290X is an awesome card. Like OS 10 does detect it fine, but when you try to go multi-display, it's just terrible. I mean, it just goes black, and it's like there's no pattern to it. Sometimes, like when you plug in your cards, and you sleep it, turn it back on, it's all three monitors. Other times, you do the same exact process, doesn't work, and so it's a huge pain in the butt. So I got really sick of it. And as some of you guys know, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I used to have an AMD Radeon HD 6850 1 gig card. So now what I decided to do is I'm running both of those cards in my system, and I have two displays plugged into the 290X and then one into the Radeon, and now all three are there just right on boot up.
All right.
And
Yeah.
I think the way OS 10 and Windows, for a matter of fact, I think does it, is it just defaults to the card that has the most displays plugged into it. Because
Exactly.
whether I had the 290X in the top or the second PCI slot, it would still recognize the 290X because it had more displays. So a little pro tip.
Yeah, just in case people are, running two different cards and having some issues. I used to do the same thing with the AMD card. I used to run it and the GT120 that came with the Mac Pro. And, since the AMD card had more displays plugged in, just like you said on Windows, it was the same exact thing. And I thought it was weird because one time it actually worked, and I was able to actually use both cards, and then it just rebooted, and it was just funky after that. I didn't like it.
Yeah,
So
for the longest time, Clover didn't like dual GPUs either. It just wouldn't have it. Then they updated it one day to support it, and it was like a godsend. It was awesome. Yes, this is a Define R5. Honestly, I like the R3 and the R4 better, but I'll get into that in a little bit. What power supply? 750 watt. I'll go over all the hardware when we actually start the build. But we'll let Mr. Casey Nightmare finish up eating here. It's been a long day, I'm sure.
Oh man, you have no idea, man. It's longer than Miley Cyrus's 15 minutes of fame. I mean, it's.
And I'm done. See you guys later.
Yeah. I thought she was just like completely tanked by now. And she's still relevant. I still hear stuff about her, even when you're not trying to.
Even when you have a show like ours on the internet, bashing her the way we do.
Hey, someone's got to bash her.
We're not the only ones, though.
That was bad. That was bad wording. I'm not gonna use that. But so basically, let's see here.
DSDT graphics injection seems to fix things. Yeah, but that's so much work. I just want it to work. I want to have my cake and eat it too. Like, there's some things that I know I have to work on a Hackintosh, and I'm fine with that. But when it comes to graphics, I just want it to work. I don't want to have to mess with kernel inspections and injection, and that's just... I'd rather just plug and play with that kind of stuff. If I can.
Yeah, that's like the old Hackintosh way.
Yeah.
It used to be so much work.
It used to be ridiculous. It used to not
hunting
be
down
worth
your
it.
kegs and hoping there was somebody with it with the hardware that you already had, and it was a nightmare.
Let them do the hard work. Is this my new system? No, this is actually a client build. RocheTechnology.com/customize. Yeah, this system's actually very similar to mine, except GPU, and this is actually a better CPU.
Xfinity 2013. I like to point out certain names that stand out. This day the best one, and I told you this already, Bob. It's one that was. She said she was 18.
Yep. Brilliant.
Gosh, it was so funny.
How's your car? Awesome. I've had it since September 6th. So almost a year. I bought it with 27,000 miles on it. I'm now at 51,000. So I've almost doubled it in a year. 54,000 would be double from when I bought it.
You actually just got back from vacation not too long ago, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I got back 2 weeks ago. It was awesome.
And you went back to Vegas, right?
Yep, to Vegas, and then we went to the Grand Canyon, and then Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
It was awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is X Infinity. I'm sorry. I read it too fast.
Ah.
Yeah. See,
reading is hard.
Right. Especially when you speed read like I do.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm the exact same way.
Certain words are like, oh, that was okay. You know. But what happens is when you read that fast, you don't read the entire word.
Yeah. You don't get the full meaning.
Yep.
Even of an entire sentence, you'll miss like entire words.
Or
I'm the same way.
It'll just be so close, and just a couple, maybe two letters will make it another word, and then you'll say it. Well, I do it all the time. So, but we can start whenever, man. I don't want to hold the show up on my account. So,
and 113 watching. That's actually a bigger turnout than I expected for being 8 o'clock on a Wednesday. So thank you guys. I'm glad you guys are interested in this, and even despite the YouTube hiatus, which I explained earlier. So this whole entire thing will be uploaded actually after the build is done, including the pre-show, and I'm sure there's going to be some post-show as well. And so if you're watching, the recorded version, just look in the video description, and there'll be like to start the build, go to this time, and then you can skip the pre-show. Because YouTube's just going to upload it all auto-magically anyway, so.
Right.
Yeah, also, I decided to do it a little bit different this time. I'm not doing any camcorder footage. It's purely webcams. It's purely one take because, honestly, I just don't have the time to edit, 3 hours of video together.
Oh.
I don't have the time I used to.
Yeah, everyone who's ever followed me or seen any one of my 7 videos or whatever knows exactly why I only have 7 videos.
Yep.
So my subscribers and everything suffer due to that. So and believe me, I'd love to get more content out there. It's just
there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only 7 days in a week.
Right.
So. But I guess we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started. So we'll both keep an eye on the chat. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm not going to do like a formal introduction because there's really no point because the video's not going to start here. So I guess what I'll do first is I'll just showcase the hardware. We'll go over everything and then we'll get into the build. Sound fair enough?
Sounds good to me, sir.
Alrighty, so here we go. We're going to kick off the live X99 Hackintosh build. Hashtag on Twitter, do it up. So I'm just going to start with what's on top here first. We have a Rosewell Hive 750 watt power supply. Honestly, not the best power supply in the world by any means at all whatsoever, but still a very nice unit. And this is modular too, so there won't be any extra spaghetti in the case that we don't need or anything like that. So that's upside down. That's a weird box. Upside down one way and right side up the other way. Interesting. We'll put this down. So moving on. Actually, let me fix this shot really quick. Doing it live here, ladies and gents.
The joys of live footage.
Absolutely.
You've seen him in such pictures as Deep Voice Bob Takes Over Pennsylvania and Hackintosh Me. Yeah, I'm going to make you a movie trailer. I just haven't quite figured out some of the different movies yet.
Yeah, that's all right.
Minnesota into his house.
Minnesota, Texas, look at that. Illinois.
Got Texas,
all kinds
Illinois.
of people. So we'll get the boring stuff out of the way. An optical drive. Revolutionary as it is, it's an optical drive. I mean, and this isn't really going to be like a gaming PC or anything. It's a content production PC, so people that have projects to burn to DVDs and stuff, it's still definitely a thing.
Sage of Light. Are Gigabyte boards still the best for compatibility? I wouldn't say. It's hard to say the best because so many boards out there are now just literally right out the box, good to go. A lot of Asus boards as well. I just like Gigabyte boards personally. If I'm going to use one for a Hackintosh, I've had the best luck with them. And I don't know. What do you think, Bob? What would you call the best motherboard?
I say Gigabyte. Asus tend to be a little bit more finicky, especially with things like legacy booting in the BIOS, especially in the newer UEFI boards. They also tend to be a little bit more expensive. I think they're constructed a little bit better, but honestly, I've built so many systems with Gigabyte boards, and I've never had one blow up. I've had my Gigabyte X58 board for coming up on like 6 years now. I ran that thing like crazy. It still runs. It's now a Server 2012 host, runs beautifully still. So I think, especially for a Hackintosh, but even in general, I love Gigabyte boards. Yeah. I can't recommend them enough.
I hear you. I've just had, like I said, I've just had the most luck with them, and I've had a few builds that I did for people that were Asus boards, and they were fairly straightforward. But like I said, the Gigabyte ones are just like,
yeah, definitely. And speaking of which, the next thing, the X99 UD4 from Gigabyte. Same board that I actually have in my Hackintosh. Thing is a champ. Along with the 5930K CPU, which I'll get into in just a second. We can use all 40 PCI lanes and just a workstation of a board. Absolutely awesome. Tons of SATA ports, tons of PCI options. This even supports the Gigabyte Thunderbolt card, which I've heard does work in OS X. I've never tried it, but that's just what I've read. So if you want to invest in that, this has connectivity for that. So awesome board, awesome price, all around awesome. Moving on here. Let's go with these. Here we just have a set of 240 gig Kingston SSDs. These things are like $90. I mean, it's just disgusting how much these have come down in price. Mm-hmm. So we went with two of these. And like I said, this is going to be like a content production system. So we have one for Windows and one for OS X. It's going to be a dual booting system. It's just going to be beautiful. I assume Windows 10 on here. Awesome. That's what my system has, is both OS X, Yosemite, and Windows. Works like a dream.
Yeah, I actually have the same exact solid-state drives booting in my Mac Pro and my MacBook Pro.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've built one with a system with these in the past. Not mine, but I mean.
And if you notice, Bob, those are actually a little bit thinner than your regular 2.5-inch drives, and they come with like a little wedge, like spacer, like if you're going to put them in a laptop. It's
those were in the package. Yeah.
Yeah. So. That's just something to note if people are going to put them in a little laptop. And sometimes some of the
Yeah.
spacing, so it doesn't just sit there and bounce around. There is a
Yeah,
little
you got to pick
spacer
up your
in there.
laptop and it's like click, click, click. You're like,
Right.
what is that?
Yeah. Good quality though. I like the feel of it. Almost has like a graphite
Oh yeah,
feel
it's
to
really
it.
like it's
Yeah, it
metal.
feels
It's
like
not. It's
yeah,
not like the Samsung drives, which are great drives, but they're plastic.
exactly.
So,
So,
all right. So here, next up is the CPU. Before Intel's Skylake box took over, and now it's all psychedelic. This is the 5930K. This thing is clocked at, I don't even know off the top of my head, 3.5 gigahertz, 6-core chip, 12 threads, TDP of 140 watts. So for the performance this thing packs, really isn't that power hungry. And trust me, this thing is a monster. I mean, at stock speeds, which my 5820K is at 3.3, it gets about 18.5 on Geekbench, and that's in both OS 10 and Windows. So this thing being zero point 0.2 gigahertz faster, it's probably going to be pretty close to 19, and that is stock, ladies and gentlemen. You can easily get, and I've gotten on my 5820K around 24, 25,000, overclocked to like 4.6,
wow.
and it was rock solid. So I mean, just overall monsters of chips. If you have any content production to do, and you could either be like me and just ball on a budget, get the 5820K, lose some PCI lanes.
Yep.
If you want dual cards, dual GPUs, it will scale down to buy 8. However, you could also spring $200 more for this chip, get all those PCI lanes back, and just overall just dominate. So beautiful chips. By the way, with your Mac Pro, what does that Geekbench out? I forget.
It's like 24,000,
Monster,
24,252. Yeah.
absolute monster.
Mhm. And it's crazy because I plan on putting a 3.46 gigahertz Intel Xeon X5690s in it. You know, it just they hadn't quite come down in price the way I want, and it was so
Yeah,
crazy. It's a 2009 chip, so it's
exactly.
weird. Like
Yep.
I've got a dead 5650 right here. That's the one of the pairs that I do have in my Mac Pro. This is just one of the first ones I bought. For some reason, it would just burn out. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's like a little burn spot like right in there you can see. But the
Yep.
guy, he was more than happy to replace it for me. But you know, it's just funny that you know how much bigger these chips are, and even with them being lidded, but even delidding them, they're around the same size as the quad core chips. But you know, it's just one of those things that you know I hadn't quite got around to yet. But I do plan on doing it because um, it's kind of hard for me to go to the 2013 Mac Pro. I'm just trying to see what Apple's going to really do with the Mac Pro line and see what's going on, especially because I don't know if you guys have found out that the newer MacBooks, is a rumor as of right now, are probably going to be supporting Xeon chips. Intel's going to try to make Xeon chips for laptops now, and the Mac Pro was their line that they were looking for. Now, here's some of the issues with a workstation processor is heat,
Exactly. And power.
power, error code
Battery life
correcting
is affected,
RAM,
and
which is almost a non-factor. I mean, but you know, it will be very expensive if they can keep the price right and do it correctly. I think it'll work out really well. But the heat and power, I just don't know how they're going to work that out with,
yeah,
especially with the form factor that the Mac Pro is now, or
yeah,
MacBook Pro
exactly.
is now. Yeah.
I mean, you have to think battery life is probably the biggest thing that they're really trying to. I mean, Apple, for whatever reason, Apple likes to focus on the skinniness of their devices rather than the battery life, which I think is really stupid.
Yeah.
So if they're going to include like a Xeon chip and they still want to be thin, that I honestly think that's stupid. I mean, they're going to have to make some kind of a sacrifice.
Right. I mean, even
So
if it's just as thick as like the 2011s or something, I'd be happy with that. But I don't know. But yeah, they're gonna have to do something with that because with things getting considerably thinner, I just don't know how much truth is going to be for that rumor because of that, and not have a form factor revision to support it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. I
Yeah.
mean, Apple always likes to keep everything secret and just lets you know last second. So we'll have to see. But moving on here, just moving on to the RAM. This is Corsair Vengeance LPX 2133 megahertz, 32 gigabytes of it. This is 4 8 gig sticks, so which is what you want for the X99. I mean, I don't like putting sticks that don't max out each DIMM in there. If a board maxes out at 64 gigs and has 8 slots, I don't like to put a 4 gig stick in there because if at one point you do want to max out the board, you have to buy all new DIMMs. So I don't like to do that. So whenever I do a client build, I always try to max the dim. It might be just a little, like a few dollars more expensive this way, but in the long run, I think it's worth it for upgradability. So there's that. Next up here, we have a H100i liquid cooler. I've used these in the past. Absolutely awesome coolers, insane performance. I have an H105 in my X99 machine. It is absolutely amazing, especially with the SP120 fans I have on there. The thing is silent, cools like a boss, even out at those 4.6, 4.7 gigahertz frequencies. All of these Corsair liquid coolers are just awesome. I find it hard to go with another solution like a thermal take or any of those other ones. Not that they're not good, but I just have so much experience with these coolers and they're awesome. So.
Yeah, I highly recommend them. That exact model, H100i. I've heard nothing but good stories from them. The ones I've installed, worked flawlessly. And usually people who I've installed one for, they ask me to install, another one for a friend of theirs. After just hearing their system boot up and just the daily idle time, sounds and everything. It's pretty good for the performance and what you're getting out of it.
Absolutely,
yep, very good.
Up next here, just plain and simple. 2 terabyte Western Digital green drive, nothing crazy here. Don't recommend them as boot drives, but just for a media drive or something, they're awesome. If it's a boot drive, and especially if you want to use OS 10, these are green drives. They're not really meant to be spinning at high RPMs all the time, so they'll have to wake up, and 4K sectors are a huge thing with the bootloaders, and it's just more of a hassle. So don't use these for boot drives, but as media drives, storage, whatever, they're awesome. So I can recommend them, and they're very cost effective. You can grab a 2 terabyte like this, I think, for like $70 or $80 now. So very cost effective for a good amount of storage. Moving on here. Now this is probably one of the stars of tonight's build. This is the GeForce GTX 980. This is a 4 gigabyte card. We didn't spring for the 980 Ti. That's kind of like the next level. Those cards, I believe, have 6 gigs of RAM, and the budget shows that. So especially when you're trying to do a client build, you really have to stay in budget. So this is the most that we were allowed for, but come on, this is an absolutely crazy card. Especially if you want to boot into a Windows partition and do some gaming on this thing. Awesome. I can definitely recommend these cards. Now, there's a lot of people that are going to say that in OS 10, they're not quite as optimized or anything, and you have to deal with the web drivers. I think it's fine, and I've seen them working in real life, and they seem to be just fine. Actually, my friend Eric runs a 980 Ti now, and it's beautiful in OS 10. So, alrighty, and I think the last thing is just the case. So let me bring this around here. Now the light on this is probably going to be kind of sketchy, and I do apologize for that. There's really not too much I can do with my current setup. So let me maybe try to bring the camera over a little. Yeah, see, it's really kind of wanting to focus on the light back there. And again, I do apologize for that. There just wasn't too much I could do with the space I had to work with. But this is the Fractal Define R5. Overall, very nice case. It does have the classic Fractal features, such as the lined inside. And so basically it makes for a really nice and quiet system. So here's maybe a little better view for you guys. Here's the clean side from the front camera there. Now here's the front, and of course, again, like all the Defines before it, this little door opens up to reveal the 5 1/4 inch bays and the front intake fans, stuff like that. I'm gonna bring it around this way. This is the windowed edition of this case. Honestly, it's going to look really cool, especially with that 980 because of those green GeForce GTX lights. Those always look really cool at night through a transparent window like that. And then there's the back. So obviously a rear exhaust fan. I think a total of those 7 of those little PCI gates. Overall, an awesome case. I'll go ahead and I'll try to switch to this shot here. Give you guys a little look of what's above here. So we have the line in and out, reset power, 2 USB 2, and 2 USB 3. Interestingly enough, the USB up here are not blue. They are USB 3, but they're black. So I guess just to match the color tone of the case, I guess. Do you have any experience with any of these fractal cases, Dante?
I don't. There was there was a time where I was actually looking to put, and this is for a ridiculous reason. I just really didn't have nothing else to do. I was going to rebuild my file server, and I was actually going to buy that exact case for it, because there's a lot of room in there, and it's still compact enough design where you don't feel like you're picking up something as big as, like, say, my Mac Pro, or this XPS case or something like that. So one thing I did notice on that one, like you said, was that the USB 3.0 ports were in fact black, and a lot of them are actually going to different colors like red and yellow. I've even seen some green ones, and I just thought that was weird because that's usually the way that we identify USB 3.0 on a chassis. So I just thought that was weird. So just be sure, and they are labeled. You can see that the 2.0 and 3.0 ports are labeled on the top, so just be sure to know which one you're going to use before plugging your flash drives in or anything. If you feel like you're getting slow performance on a USB 3 drive, putting it in a 2.0 port. So, but yeah, it's a real nice design. I like it a lot, and I just hadn't quite pulled the trigger on it. But I mean, I love how huge the window is, though. That's a really big feature that I like about it, because some of them, the windows are like pretty small or just like a little quarter window, but that one's like like the whole side, so really nice.
Yep, that's the way my 750D is. The vast majority of the entire side is a window. It's really cool to look at, especially at night, like I said, with like the lights inside. And on the X99 UD4 motherboard, there's like a little strip of LEDs on there, so it looks pretty sweet at night. Need to move this side panel out here.
How many drive bays are there?
Let me see. Let me try to angle this down a little bit here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a whopping 8, and then I think there's 2 5.25-inch bays up top here.
Okay.
So a decent amount. I mean, and also two things I didn't actually. There's more. There's 8 of those drive bays, but actually on the back here, there's little SSD mounts on the back of the motherboard tray. So you can actually put 2 drives there as well. So I guess a total of 10, but for 3.5-inch drives, there's 8. And these are all, in case you're wondering, SSD ready. They have the little mount holes on there, so it's not like you can only have 2 SSDs without all those adapters and everything. Okay, and I do realize that this camera here is dropping some frames. I think that's just due to the way my lighting is. Hopefully, once I get inside the case here, it'll improve a little bit, but if not, then I guess we're just going to have to work with what we got. This is the joys of doing it live, people.
Yep. Man, it was sketchy if I was even going to be able to join this today, honestly. Oh, it was running late. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier in the pre-show. That's just how Tech Happy Weekly is. It's just so hard to get a schedule. Life is so busy right now. It's insane.
Right. It's like when we were going good, it was going really good, but then we had some production issues, some hardware issues. Yeah,
it's always fun. I mean, I would love to bring it back, but maybe once a little more time goes by and our schedules calm down, and we'll cross that bridge. But Rick Koning, that's why I love that case, because of the drive space and of the window. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Fractal makes really nice looking cases. I mean, they're just overall awesome. So moving down here, I mean, really quick, just a few things like we were saying: 8 drive bays, 2 5.25-inch bays, a really large CPU cutout here. So if you have a cooler with a back plate on it or something, you can really easily get to that. 2 SSD mounts, tons of room for cable management in here, on the side and up top. Let's see, I think there's 7 little PCI lanes there. Rear exhaust will be mounting the H100i up at the top here. I believe that's a 240 millimeter radiator. So obviously your standard little front connectors are reset, power LED, all USB 3.0, HD audio, that stuff. So Dante, when you build a system, what do you like to do first? Power supply, motherboard?
Depends on where the power supply is mounted. If it's a top mounted power supply, I usually do that first to just get it out of the way. It depends on what you want to do as far as from the power supply or the motherboard. If it's on the bottom, it is easier to get the cords out of the way, so I'd say do the power supply first.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll get the power supply rocking then. Yeah, one of the pet peeves I have, and I'll go a little bit more in depth in a second here, is at all the way at the very top where that CPU power connector is. That's always really fun to get to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this little guy right up here. So we'll go ahead and we'll just move this case out of the way for just a second. And
Good thing is manufacturers are getting smarter at knowing how consumers wire their cases. So they're starting to, basically favor the consumers on a lot of this stuff now. So, I don't know, in due time, a lot of this stuff will probably just go exactly where you want it to go,
Yeah.
Especially how big video cards get now.
Oh my gosh, yeah. My gosh. Some of those cards are like over a foot. I mean, they're just insane. You have to like buy a new case almost just to fit your GPU. So digging into the power supply here, again, this is modular, so all these cables come detached. Came with 4 screws, which I wish they were black, but I guess we'll work with it. A few more cables. And there are like the CPU and the 24-pin ATX connector. Those are pretty much always connected.
Yep.
I think you can get power supplies where they're not, but those are really expensive and usually only done for like really, really crazy custom cable jobs. Right. So, but of course comes with your little power cable for the power of the system, which is handy. And then inside the box we have the actual unit. Now, as I'm sure you guys realize, this is a bottom-mounted case. So that's pretty much the standard. Back not too long ago, it was top, and that just, I don't think that makes much sense because heat rises and then your power supply just is hot all the time.
There you go.
It's also a lot of weight, where, I mean, if you don't have a nice built case, that thing could come crashing down and just mess up your system. So, fun stuff there. So, let's get this guy out here, and here's the unit. Pretty straightforward unit. Like I said, it's a power supply. It's nothing crazy. Nice big exhaust fan, grill in the back. Pretty standard stuff. So, now what we'll do is we'll get these cables out of the way here, just for now. Do you know how big the power supply is that comes in your cheese grater Mac Pro, wattage-wise?
I think it's 980 watts.
980?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's weird. Yeah.
It's an interesting number.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, so don't hold me to it.
Oh, we're holding you to it here, Dante.
Oh, I'm sure everyone will. Oh, what am I doing? There we go. Oh, that's my problem. I'm using a Windows keyboard. Anyway.
Yeah, I have the Logitech Solar keyboard, and I use it with Windows, and the command key is the Windows key.
Oh, yeah. If you don't pay attention at first, I'm like, how come it's not making me a new tab? Oh, yeah. Windows key.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the power supply, and so we're gonna do it like this. We're gonna have that fan. Actually, I believe this is an intake fan. So where it's gonna. The idea here is that it takes cold air from the floor into the unit and then outputs it out the back here, out this way. So we're gonna do just that. We're gonna put the fan side down and mount it to the back here.
Yes, it is a 980 watt. That is confirmed.
Confirmed. Was that chat or Google?
Oh, it was Google.
Gotcha. Google strikes again.
That's funny.
Okay, so let's go move this camera a little bit more here. And now all we're going to do is we have 4 little screws here. We're just going to secure this guy into place. Really nothing insane here. What's the price of this build? Everything all together ended up being about $2,200 or $2,300.
Yeah.
Which, if you break it down, the CPU and GPU alone is over half of it. So, if you have like a pretty high-end system, if 2 components or even 1 is a good chunk of the build. But depending on what you're doing, that might be exactly what you need. X99 or go home. Screw Skylake.
That's funny.
Yeah, Skylake is interesting. Have you heard too much about that, Dante?
Just briefly, in some of the things that I've heard, I don't know, I've kind of got mixed reviews about it as of right now. And then what was with the name change that they did when it first came? It had a different name, I thought, beforehand. Like
I'm not sure. I wasn't following it too closely, to be honest.
Yeah. What did they call it? It had like a different. I thought it had a different code name, and then they changed it out of nowhere, and I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. I want to know how it's going to change with a lot of the Hackintosh community as well.
Yeah.
So
The biggest question I have about Skylake is what's with the box it comes in?
yeah, not a fan of the box at all.
Yeah, it's all tie-dye, psychedelic.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
it's like it's from the 70s or something. Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of the problem I have, I think, with the most is that it doesn't really bring all that much more to the table. It's like they're just kind of getting a new generation out just to say it's a new generation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially I was talking about earlier that 2700K Hackintosh that my girlfriend still has and runs every day.
Yeah.
That thing is still an absolute monster, and I really don't think Skylake has much on that. I mean, sure, the integrated graphics card might be a bit better.
Oh yeah.
If you have a dedicated GPU anyway, there's really nothing except
exactly.
maybe some power savings, a little more efficiency, but
right.
not enough that you're really going to notice it on your electric bill.
Yeah, one of my best was that 2500K Core i5 Hackintosh build I had. That thing was a tank. I mean, I don't know, it was weird. Like I was running everything on that, and yeah, it was fine. But with some of those Skylake processors, 6700K and that is socket 1151.
Yeah, Skylake is 1151.
So a little interesting on that too.
Yeah, and
as far as I don't know.
It's weird that they would make it like an odd number of things like that. And I mean, it's cool because Skylake, yeah, it can use DDR4 RAM and stuff, but did it really need it? I mean, is it really worth having to invest in an entire new system to get a new chip?
Yeah, that's kind of what.
But I mean, I guess Intel's logic is that it's not really an upgrade, or it's not really like I just got this new Haswell chip. Now let me go out and get this. It's meant for the people that are coming from like a Pentium or like an older machine,
exactly.
or even like an AMD.
And some of those are actually pulling like 95 watts. Some of the higher i7s, like the 66 or the 6700K and the 6500K Core i5, and so it just depends, man. It really depends on how much you follow, generations and CPUs and what you're going to be using it for and everything. So, but yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Coming from, an older architecture, like a Pentium D or even a Core 2 or something, yeah, I could see it. But, other than that, nah.
Yeah, I just got this Broadwell chip. Let me just go out and buy a whole new board and RAM.
Yeah.
So much fun. But as you guys just saw in the feed, what I did is I took the little CPU power connector, and this was the pet peeve I was talking about earlier. If you go ahead and you get your motherboard on here and you get your cooler installed with a radiator and your fans, this CPU power cable that's always up here, like in the top left, is going to be about impossible to plug in. And you're going to have to end up taking the radiator off to plug your cable in. So what I do is I like to run the cable back up the back first and then bring it out the top here so it's ready to go. And I plug that in as soon as the board's in the case. And then that way I don't have to take off my radiator or something. I've done that one too many times in the past, so I'm just used to it. Right now, it's always the first thing I do when I build a system.
Oh, yeah.
Something to keep in mind. So with that cable, let's go ahead and put this guy back down. And now, I guess, Dante, motherboard time.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and find it here.
Now that's already pre-pinned out for micro and full ATX, correct? On the motherboard, like on the tray.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Fractals, it is a solid. And let me see if I can move this camera to look a little bit
I didn't know if you had to like
down.
put risers or anything in that one.
Nope, it comes all pre-done. It's going to be really hard to see, and I apologize for this. But there's, I believe, 9. Or actually, wait, no, I lied. They're not. There's 1. They have 1 pre-run. I don't know if you could see that. I just saw that one and assumed the rest were there. But no, we do actually indeed have to put those in there, which is awesome. I mean, that's something I don't get. If you're going to do 1, just do them all. But so now I guess what we'll do before we do the board really quick is dig into our little box of goodies here.
Oh, yeah.
Question from Music, Mayhem, and Gaming. 5820K or 6700K? What do you think, Dante?
5820K.
Yeah.
Because 6700K, what is that running like? 4.0 gigahertz?
Yeah, I think it's 4.
95 watts. To me, bang for the buck on this one. 5820K, solid piece of architecture, and then like you were saying with the whole, board and RAM and all that stuff, and then if you're going to be running a DDR4 RAM and what is it like 2130 something,
2133.
yeah,
Is
so
default.
um to me, it just depends on how hard you're actually going to be pushing your machine. I mean, I'm one of those guys, like, if I'm going to show up to a race and, I got a little souped up, say, tuner car, but come to find out it's a mud race. Well, now it's like, well, it doesn't matter how fast my car is. It's too low to the ground. It's going to bottom out. It's never going to climb up those rocks. So it just depends, on making sure you spend your money as wisely as possible as far as what you're going to do. So if you're going to be doing, music production, video rendering, things like that, I would actually still stay with the 5820K, and
Yeah, I mean, because if you want, like Dante was saying, it really depends what you want to do and what you want to throw at it. But if you go with like a Skylake, the most you're ever going to get is 4 cores and 8 threads.
Yep.
I mean, you could, they make quad-core 2011 V3 chips, do they? I know they did it on X99, but I don't know about X99.
That I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they do, but I mean, if they do, then you could start out with a quad-core, run that for a little bit and say, okay, maybe it's time to make the 6-core jump, and then you could just buy a new chip, and then boom. You don't have that privilege on the newer, on Skylake. And I mean, especially if you're coming from an old system, you got to buy DDR4 anyway. Yeah. I mean, you can get a 5820K, which has 2 more cores, 4 more threads, and it's not going to be much more money. I think the 5820K is like $380. I think on Newegg right now or something similar. That's what I got it at least. And I mean, the Skylake chip's going to be about that, and you're only getting 4 cores. Granted, they're clocked higher, but if you ever want more cores, then you're out of luck. Exactly. Same thing with the RAM. I think Skylake still maxes out at 32 gigs. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case.
Yes, I believe that was a processor limitation on it. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, it is, because that was one of the other gripes that I had about it, and I was like, what? I'm like, when you say something's new, 32 gigs shouldn't even be in the conversation. Yeah. It just shouldn't.
Yeah, we're reaching that point in time where,
because that's what I'm running. I've got 32 gigs RAM in this Mac Pro, so it's like, come on now, and yep. it was fairly cheap, especially with RAM prices nowadays. Now, yes, you're going to get into more expenses when you start dealing with DDR4, but still, I mean, it's not like it used to be.
No, not at all. And I mean, especially now, games are starting to use some more RAM, and if you're into video editing at all, just say goodbye to your RAM. I mean, it's not like you won't use it. So, I mean, if you're buying like an editing PC and you're considering Skylake versus X99, I would just go X99.
Yeah.
Yeah, so X99 is 6 cores only from Patrick Kemp. So thank you for that. Gotcha. According to Mr. MacMan here, it's actually has a maximum of 64 gigs of Skylake.
Oh, MacMan is here. Hello, mate. Yeah, one time I was running to MacMan at a pub one time, and I was like, oh my god, I was trying to figure out what was going to happen. So anyway, we're going to talk about that just a wee bit later. MacMan, you're from the UK, is that right?
I believe so. Thanks. Okay, so if you guys were watching during our little Skylake rant, I went ahead and got those mounts all done. Very easy. I mean, you just kind of screw them in with your hand. It's really not a process at all. So cracking open the board, here we go. Beautiful sight. Let me go ahead and take it out of the plastic. Now, of course, in the box, you have, I think, like 6 SATA cables it comes with. All the DVD for the drivers and a whole bunch of stuff to read. But I don't like to read. Okay, so now we're going to do this live. Take it out of the bag. I always like doing that. And here we go. This is a brand shiny, spanking new X99 UD4 motherboard. Again, obviously X99 maxes out at 64 gigs of RAM, 4 DIMMs to the left, 4 DIMMs to the right. Down here you have the heat sink for the chipset. This thing actually lights up. All these little orange spots glow orange. This little strip right down the side of the PCI lanes also illuminates like a white color. And I've actually heard of people modding it, or I'm not sure if it's native or not, but you can actually get these to like pulse to music and stuff. So it's like, whoa, it's pretty neat. Yeah. But yeah, so down here, one of the little notable things, this is where if you have one of those Gigabyte Thunderbolt cards, this is where you can plug in. So really cool stuff there. I think this board also supports the NVMe. I'm not positive about that, the new line of solid states. Have you heard too much about those, Dante, the NVMe?
No, not much.
Yeah, I would love to get one, but they're just so darn expensive. Okay, so...
Yeah, I keep my knowledge to my price range.
Yeah, that's honestly not a bad way to go. Okay, so in the box here, what I'm looking for is the rear I/O shield. But, we have a bunch of SLI and Crossfire bridges, a bunch of those SATA cables, as I recently said. And here is the I/O shield for this board. Cool thing about this one is that this actually glows. It's like a purplish kind of a blue. And so at night, this makes plugging in cables really easy. So that's definitely awesome. Kind of like a rip off the Mac Pro, the trash can, how you can spin it around and it illuminates. Not at all the same, not nearly as elegant, but it gets the job done.
Boo.
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this guy out of here. Yeah, Zach, NVMe is crazy fast. I mean, I think out of the box you're getting like, 1.2 gigabytes per second read, and I think like 1 write or something like that. I mean, it's just
ridiculous.
It's disgusting. And they come in like up to 1 or 2 terabytes, I think.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to touch that on SATA for a while. SATA is half that max. 600 megabytes per second. Or megabits, sorry.
Megabits. Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's the rear I/O shield. Again, it lights up, so this one has a little wire on it. So all we're going to do is just press this. First, I'm going to get this board out of here. So again, we're just going to press this to the back of the case. Really not rocket science. Anyone have a problem with the X99 UD4 BIOS? I have. It is bad. I had an Intel BIOS RAID going on, a RAID 10, and it just died. So I was able to recover the data off of it, but it was a huge pain in the butt, and I didn't think I did anything wrong. Sometimes it just doesn't want to post, so you have to just turn it off, wait a second, and then turn it back on, and it's fine. There's just a few bugs, but I mean, it's the newest architecture. It's a pretty new board, so those things are just bound to happen. I mean, when you're in X99 at this point, you're on the bleeding edge, and so you kind of just have to expect that kind of stuff. So, but in terms of like a whole system failure or anything, it's never been anything that drastic. So, okay, so motherboard is in place. Let me see if I can try to move this up a little bit. I apologize if I don't have the best viewing angles here. But again, we're just kind of working with what we got. There we go. Okay, so now the next step is to screw in the motherboard, which is always so satisfying. Fastest SSD now. What do you think, Dante? Talking SATA. I mean,
SATA. So we're talking.
I mean, I think it's starting to get to a point now where they're all really similar.
I know, and that's what I'm trying to think. I was like, which one had a decent read-write speed? I thought I saved it. Let me see if I can find that.
These aren't the right screws. That's one thing with this case. It comes with like 1,000 kinds of screws. Yeah. This is the most I've ever seen a case come with. I mean, there's like an entire bag here with like 8 bags of different screws in it, and there's still more off to the side. I mean, it could be these ones. I don't think we have many other options. Which I'd be surprised if these were them, because let me hold one up to the camera here. It's almost like a thumb screw. I mean, it really does kind of stick up far. I mean, it's kind of weird. But we'll see if it fits. I mean, they'll be really easy to get into place if they fit, so I won't mind.
Yeah, Sage of Light, I'm kind of with you on the Intel ones. There's an Intel 730 SSD. and those are pretty quick. But a lot of them, they're pretty close to everyone else. I mean, a lot of them, up to 550 gigabytes per second, and 89,000 IOPS and all that. I'm trying to. I mean, a lot of them are very similar, but Intel drives. I mean, honestly, I like their SSDs. Just look cool to me. Just
Yeah, I like the silver design they all have.
yeah, I like that a lot. But they tend to run on an expensive side. Like for like a 480, it's probably around like 250, almost $300 now. Especially with the way SSD prices have been going down lately, I still consider that a little expensive, especially how cheap you can get a 256 or a 240 nowadays.
Yeah.
Especially for booting. And believe me, I had to get rid of a bunch of stuff on my boot partition on OS 10 because it was just like maxed. So but I've been able to manage it pretty well. But yeah, honestly, I mean, Samsung 850 Pro, I mean, it's got a lot of good reviews on it. I'm just not a big fan of Samsung SSDs.
Yeah, I don't like the plastic design. We were talking about that earlier.
So
I mean, they are very fast drives, and I mean, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, you stick it in your system and you never see it again. You just know the performance.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. But especially if you have like a transparent window, or you're really kind of an enthusiast and you want all your components to match or to look kind of like professional, I just don't think Samsung has it in terms of aesthetics.
Exactly.
But I mean, they perform well.
And then I want to buy, and I have heard pretty good things about them. I haven't heard too many stories of them crashing.
No, my OS 10 partition or drive is an Intel solid state. It's just a 120, and I think I've had it for like 3 years now, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been rock solid the absolute entire time.
Yeah, I've got the same. I actually put my a 120 gigabyte SSD now, Kingston, just like the ones that are in this build in my wife's '09 MacBook, and it's perfect. I mean,
yeah,
man, it really brought some life out of that thing. So
nice. Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, if you're looking to upgrade any component and you don't have a solid state, to make it to solid state.
That's where I would start.
Okay, so we have the board in place. So now what I'm going to do is, like I said earlier, with that pain in the neck power connector, which is right here. And let me see if I can't get my flashlight going. I know this is hard to see. Like I said, I really do apologize for that. It's just the space I have to work with. I don't know if the flashlight's helping at all. But the power connector is up here. So without all the fan and the radiator up here, it just makes life a million times easier to plug that in. So we're going to do that and just be done.
Hey, we got a question here. Sage of Light is asking, do you see any potential in the M.2? I'm saying no, because to me, it's almost in that same category as M-SATA. And it's like, it's there. Yeah, it's an extra spot. I just don't think it has enough, backing behind it, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that's something they're trying to focus on with the whole Skylake, because on a lot of the motherboards, or at least the one that I saw, it actually has two of those instead of just one. So they might be trying to push in there, just say, hey, here's a cableless solution, which could be nice.
Yeah, it would be.
I think they also make those for NVMe adapters if your board wasn't natively supported. Aside from that, I mean, I don't really see myself going out and buying one.
Nah. Some of the newer, higher-end Windows gaming laptops, like an MSI or a Sager laptop, a lot of times they have those, at least one, on their board as well. So if you guys want to check something out with that, just kind of look up on the read-write speeds and, everything on them. To me, it's just weird. I mean, and then they come in different sizes, and I don't mean as far as storage, I mean actually length.
Physical sizes.
Yeah, and you have to know basically how far it's going to land. My buddy actually ran into a problem with that on his MSI, that we had to measure it and then convert it to millimeters to find the exact Samsung M.2 drive for him. And
that's way too much work.
Yeah, that was way too much work, So
yeah.
And it fit. I mean, the one that he got, it fit and everything. It just didn't mount to his the motherboard of the laptop. So
gotcha.
He needed the longer version of it. So he had to go through the whole RMA and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, pain in the butt.
Too much. Yeah,
just buy SATA.
Yeah.
Until there's a better solution that's more cost effective. But so anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with the CPU. So on X79 and X99, pretty much any socket 2011 X, which is only 2 at the moment anyway, but you have 2 of these little handles here. So we're going to just push down on the one, which then kind of loosens up the other. If this one wants to come out, it's being kind of a pain.
That's such a cool looking processor.
Yeah. There we go, got it. Okay, so now this whole socket just kind of folds right up. So here's the 5820K, or sorry, wow, the 5930K.
New build, guys, today.
This is a future from mine. So here's the chip. As I always say, you really don't want to touch the top as much as you can. You don't want oil from your fingers on there. I'll try to get this camera to focus a little bit more. There we go. Why can't this camera always look this nice? Okay, so when it comes to these chips, there's actually, I mean, if you go with like a socket 1150 or 1155, there's 2 notches. On these chips, there's 4. So you can, and they are spaced different. They're not symmetrical, at least as far as I know. So there's only one, correct way that you can mount the CPU. So you just kind of have to find it. And if I remember correctly, I think on this board, the text on the chip is actually upside down when the board's right side up. So I'm going to go ahead and try that out first. And yes, that fits. So we're very gently just going to place it on there. Speed, I assume you mean of the processor, 3.3 gigahertz. So now this little plastic thing that comes on the CPU socket, some people like to close it, and when they tighten it down, it pops off. I don't like that. I just like to take it off right now. I mean, why put extra pressure on the very top of the CPU? I don't like that at all. So we're just going to fold that little guy down. Put this first one into place, and then the second one into place. And the CPU is, well, it's installed. Simple as that. So now one thing that I do like about socket 2011 is that in most cases, you don't have to worry about any back plates or anything, especially because these chips don't include any kind of a cooler. They pretty much assume that you're going to go third-party cooling anyway, so they essentially build it into the board. Exactly. You can remove it. I mean, if there's like these 4 little Torx screws here, if you take those out, the back plate that's on the board already will come off, and you can change it if need be. But for most coolers that you're going to buy that are compatible, you won't need to do that at all. I mean, they'll just go in these holes right here, as is the case with our H100i. So let me go ahead and I'll see if I can change this camera up here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so a little front view for you guys. So there's the box of the H100i. Again, and Dante and I were talking earlier, absolutely awesome cooler. I mean, I've never had anything somewhat close to a problem with any Corsair closed-looped cooler. And they look pretty sweet because the CPU block actually glows. Exactly. So, I mean, they're just awesome. And I think you can get these now. They're only like, what, $90, $100, something like that?
Yeah, I think they're right around $100 now, yeah.
So I mean, awesome. The only complaint, though, I do have is that the fans that this thing includes are loud. I mean, I would recommend, if not right away down the line, especially if you're working in like audio recording and your computer's right next to where you record, you're going to want quieter fans because these things do get freaking loud. So I would recommend that. But just for, day one out of the box, they work, they cool, they're fine. So they give you 2 of those because it's a dual radiator. Here's all your different CPU blocks and the actual back plates and the actual top that fits onto the cooler, so we'll need that. Here's the screws that we're going to need. We'll get into that in a second. And now this, it's like a little USB header thing. There's a little Corsair utility, I believe, in Windows that you can control it more, like finely tune what RPMs at what temperature, things like that. And that's what this, I think it's called like Corsair Link or something. So that's just like a little USB cable plugged into a USB header on the motherboard. And we have the cooler itself, which is this big thing here. So let's go ahead and get this box out of here. Yeah, I don't know. Have you ever used the that Corsair software, Dante?
No, and actually, I heard a friend of mine, he had actually had a problem with it. Now, since I didn't build that particular one, I'm not sure exactly what pinpointed his problem. But
Gotcha.
he basically was just saying he couldn't get it to work. So I don't know. It's just one of those things.
Yeah. Those things do happen with computers. You can't explain it. It just decides to do something.
Right. It's hard when you're not there to troubleshoot it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
one thing about this cooler from mine, the H105, is the width of the radiator. This thing looks tiny compared to mine. Mine's literally about twice as thick as this. There's going to be some funny jokes about that one, but
I just wanted you to say it before I.
Yeah, exactly. We're all thinking it. But the 105 is definitely a much thicker radiator. Same size, I'll say, but definitely more girthy, I'll say, on the H105. But don't let the size fool you. That this is all just a terrible conversation. Moving on. So anyway, like I was saying, we're going to be doing a top-mounted radiator. So this is going to go right up here. Let me go see if I can give you guys a little bit better of a look inside the case here. So when you install a liquid cooler, Dante, do you usually put the fans near, like, on the case side of the radiator or on the radiator side and have them push
on the radiator side?
Radiator side? Any particular reason? I mean, have you found it?
It depends on the wind tunnel design that you want.
Okay.
And then sometimes, depending on how you want it, you know how those fans, you can actually, you can take those fans off. It just depends on which way you want the intake pulling or pushing, And to me, I normally just had it going towards the radiator.
Gotcha. Yeah, everyone has their own
it's
thing.
all preference. I mean,
yeah.
I've done them both ways, no pun intended, and and it just depends on the preference of the customer or what I feel is their actual environment. Like, depending on where, like if it's down in a basement or something, I may not face them towards the radiator. But if it's like a nice wide open space and everything, and it's like it's fairly decent temperature, I'll face it the opposite way. So it just depends. A lot of people do have problems beforehand. Usually when people buy their cases and the H100i, they know pretty specifically like what they're looking for as well. So I get a lot of requests to do it that way. So
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean it depends on your case too. If you have like a nice big case versus a case that's kind of small, airflow could easily be impacted. So in that case, it's ready for it, on a case by case basis.
I understand. So you would like to tell me that the case has to matter when you put it in the radiator. I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like you buy Volkswagen. You drive Volkswagen by Roche?
I do.
I like saying Bob Roche. That's pretty fun.
So moving on with the cooler installation, just looking ahead a little bit at the actual block. There's two different sets of screws. One is for if you have to use the back plate, and there's one for socket 2011 that you just kind of use. And you could tell because this is one. So this side would go into the back plate, then the cooler would go here, and then you'd screw the cooler onto the CPU this way. This one, you can tell it's different. This side isn't as big as this side, and so this is the side that goes in the back plate. It's like the little shorter side there. So it's some things that you just kind of pick up. Like I said, I've done so many builds with this cooler. I just know this stuff. But you need, for socket 2011 at least, you need this one. So you're going to get, if you buy this cooler, you're not going to use a lot of what's in here because they come with AMD and they come with socket 1150 and they come with socket 2011. And so it's kind of a...
Yeah, this is one of those rules where the extra screws is actually a good thing.
Yeah,
exactly. People are like, I've got extra parts. It's not supposed to have extra parts. So yeah.
Story of my life.
But the good thing is, I mean, at least it's not processor specific or anything like that. You do get a universal one once you buy it. So especially for the price, so it does make sense.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and what I like to do is I like to mount the radiator first, and then once that's all secured, then I like to put the actual block on the CPU. Just because that way I've found that it puts less stress on this during installation, which is what you want. So to do that, I'm just sorting out the screws I'm going to need. I'm interested in the SwiftTech AIO all-in-one. I have heard very good things about SwiftTech coolers. Personally, I've never used one. Have you, Dante, at all?
Nope, not at all. Not at all. But I like you said, I do hear pretty good things about them. I hear more good than bad. So I mean, I think it's worth a shot. I try it.
Yep. So now, remember back in the beginning of this video where I said I didn't quite like the R5 as much as like the R4 and its predecessors. One reason for that is because of the way that this top works. So up here on this side of the case, it's all just solid, and there's actually things you have to like pop off, which has kind of been the case in the older variants of this case, but these are just a pain. These, I mean, there's no obvious way to take them off. And so let me try to spin this around as good as I can. So let me try to. So it's kind of hard to see, but there's like an outline of where you see that it should all come off. But I mean, you can't really like stick anything in here, like a fingernail or something to pop it out. You really can't. I mean, it's just dumb. And then you look inside and there's like these little tabs, but those are equally as hard to push in and to have them pop out. And I don't want to stick like a knife in here or anything, because then you risk scratching the case, and that's just bad news bears. So you really just kind of have to mess with it, literally just blindly try to take this stupid thing off. And maybe some guys in the chat have this case and you're like, oh my god, this is so easy, this guy is such a noob. But if you know a way to do this better, then please let me know, because I took these off once before the video to try to familiarize myself with it, and I couldn't. I mean, I can't repeat it. It's just different every time, I swear.
Wow.
Okay, so that hurt my finger literally to try to pop that tab out, but I did get it. And so that one's not coming out at the bottom. So let me try to move this radiator. So there we go. But that's just one of them, and there's 3 of these. So I mean, I think it's a stupid design, honestly. But I mean, if it cools good, then I guess it's worth it. But hopefully you guys can see this. This is that material inside of the fractal cases that I was talking about, like that noise dampening material. So if you're doing like an audio production build, then this makes for a really nice quiet system. Okay, so now let me try to get these ones off. Yeah, Wolf Level. It's basically water cooling all these Corsair coolers. There is liquid running through those tubes in there, but you don't there's no reservoir. You don't have to worry about pumps or cleaning it out. I mean, you literally just set it and forget it, which is, I think, the biggest selling point of them, aside from the very good performance that they offer. I mean, I don't know about you, Dante, but compared to a lot of the air coolers I've used, these things just dominate.
Yeah. And honestly, I prefer it over liquid. I mean, it's just, to me, it's safer.
Yeah. Yeah,
especially
so
if you're doing it for the first time, that's something you got to kind of ease into. Make sure you really read up on if you really have some demanding systems and you want to do a water-cooled system. I'm all with you, but
yeah,
it's a hard gamble for me.
Okay, so there's the second one. And that's all I need. Now, if this case does support those really big triple radiators, if you wanted to go that route, I only have a dual radiator, so I'm only going to pop 2 of them. Thank God for that, because that took way too long. So now that is over, I'm actually going to leave the case like this so you guys can see what I'm going to do here.
Do it, come on, get your back into it. Now, do it.
Do it.
Get it out there.
Get to the chopper. Now, where are the other screws that came with this cooler? I seem to have misplaced them. Here's the back plates and fun stuff. Where did I put those? Chat, it's hide and go seek. Whoever finds them first gets a cookie.
Wow.
But I think for this build, at least for now, I think I'm going to go against Dante's advice and put the fans on the case side.
That is fine by me.
Of the radiator. Only because I have these ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost the screws, and I'd like to save a few minutes if we can. So I can always fix it later if need be, if it doesn't cool right or, whatever have you. But I'm just going to take this screw, put it through there, and then put the fan, which will then screw into the radiator. So I think we're just going to go ahead and do it that way. Got my H100i for 65, what is that, euros? That's about $100, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Cause I think retail, I think they're like 129, but it's just various outlets you can get them from.
Yeah.
I think directly from Corsair they're like $129.
Yeah, something like that. That sounds right. That's
USD, by the way.
United States dollars, ladies and gentlemen. So for fans, I like to do the air pushing out the top rather than taking hot air from the room and sucking it in. So the fans blow this way, so I'm going to put them like this, blowing out the top of the case like that. So here's the power cable, and I think well, never mind. I was going to say I might just install the one fan, but that's going to put too much weight on the other, so we're not going to do that. So we're going to line this up with the hole here. So we're going to put the screw in there. And then we're going to put the fan through that. And get my handy screwdriver ready.
Intel i7-9920. That's like the first one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the first generation. Yep. Yeah, the one I had was the 930. 2.8 gigahertz quad core. Those are the good days.
Yeah. Imagine that in your main machine now.
Yeah. But honestly, like I said, I put that machine that actually runs right now on a test bench. It's running server 2012. It's a champ. I mean, it still holds its own for how old it is.
So what do you running a hypervisor or?
Yep, it runs Hyper-V. Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, it runs it like a dream. A lot better than I thought it would.
I actually have a huge 1U server running Hyper-V. It's I'm gonna get it. It's huge. Hold on.
Okay.
It's huge. No pun.
Mr. Casey Nightmare himself will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Working hard and going to get stuff for your enjoyment. But so I went over and I crossed over here.
So there we have it here.
Look at that.
It's old. I mean, it's a Dell PowerEdge R300. Just gigantic. I've got a server 2012 Hyper-V running on it, EXXI, and I mean.
Yeah, I kind of
nice
gave
stuff.
up on ESXi. I've
definitely not the
server
fastest
2012.
out. It's not like one of those 10,000 K RPM drives or anything like that, but it does the trick. They're two 7,200 RPM drives.
Gotcha.
Jeez. I'm sorry, Bob. I can't hear you as right this second. Okay.
No worries, sir.
Yeah. Huge. But it works. It works really well.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I actually manage it with the Mac Pro, and because I use a Windows 10 virtual machine and manage everything with it, so it's nice.
Yeah.
So just set that thing back in the corner, and
That's the only thing I hate about Windows 10 right now is there's no RSAT, which is the remote server administration tools, which you need to remotely manage a Windows 2012 server.
yeah.
It's coming. I mean, but the one they have now is from January and it only worked on the technical builds. So we just kind of have to wait. But yeah, I just kind of threw in the towel on ESXi. I mean, especially because I'm training for Microsoft stuff, there's really not too much of a point at this point for me to learn VMware.
Exactly.
And I'm familiar enough with ESXi that I'm perfectly comfortable. I can create VMs, I can migrate them, I can customize the settings and stuff. So, I mean, for general things, that's all you need to know.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're going to be like a VMware administrator, yeah, there's a lot more you need to know. But
right.
for what I need to do with it, it's just not the case.
Yeah, there's a guy on Twitter, Alex Lopez. He's really into it. I mean, he's like certified VMware certified and everything. And so yeah, to his level, no. But
Yeah.
General knowledge, concept, you know what you're doing, you can manage it, good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, because you pretty much have to run what the world's running on, pretty much. Most of the world. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's like how much Windows, applications I mess with, every day.
Yeah.
barely touch the Mac OS stuff. But honestly, because there aren't a lot of things changing with it, So,
Yeah.
once it's up, it's up. Windows,
Not the case.
yeah, not the case. So I've got 4 WDS servers at 4 different buildings that I manage.
Yeah.
That's Windows Deployment Services, if people don't know what that is, and that's where I manage all my images for all my different machines. So, like, say we have Lenovo Helixes that have Windows 8.1 on it. I have to package it up and make specific drivers and things to it, so that way I can push out that unattended with the SCCM and and push it to someone's machine, and it works really well.
It's really good at capturing an image too, like on the
Yes.
system to capture an image from just right over the network,
It's awesome.
rather
It's-
than having to. And
then
this
we've
is
got a-
actually what the company that I'm working for currently does. Is we go in, we get a computer ready image. When the image is ready to be captured, we boot into Windows PE.
Pixie, PXE.
No, it's just Windows PE. It's like a little bootable Windows, like from a flash drive. It's like really
okay.
stripped down
Gotcha.
Windows,
Okay.
and you run ImageX and you capture the image. But then we put it on a flash drive, and then we put it. I mean, it's dumb. And so that I actually suggested to them that, hey, why don't we do WDS? I mean, you just plug in, give it its own VLAN, and boom.
Capture the WIM file,
Yeah.
and package it up however you want to do your sys prep. Put every app that you want in there. Just everything's pre-packed. I mean, down to the product key with the Mac key, from Windows, because I'm sure your company has 1,000 licenses and stuff, so it's probably just the same massive license. And yeah, it works really well. And then like, say a buddy of mine has a really nice image for something that he packaged up and did some registry key hacks and edits to, and then I'll just go to his WDS and throw it on mine, and it works really good because we have a 10 gig pipe that links all of our buildings together. So I mean, it's stupid fast. I mean, our wireless, I'm getting like 453 down and like 417 up, and on the wire it's like 890 something. I mean, it's crazy, and that's just that, but. Yeah, it's bad when you got to do massive work orders to switch out 100 megabit switches.
Yep.
Like, yeah, we're bottlenecking over here. Oh, okay. That's pretty funny. So, good problem to have.
So fans are installed for the most part. I just did 2 screws on this one, and then I have 3 on there, mostly just to save time. I mean, I'm not trying to spend half an hour on a cooler. So I like to try to keep it interesting and not just be screwing stuff in for 20, 30 minutes at a time. So we're just going to go ahead and move on. And I mean, this radiator, if you look at it, it's not going anywhere. And of course, I'll get it all properly screwed in and pushing air out instead of like pulling air out. Like especially like Dante mentioned, the way that he has the fans on this side of the radiator. That is the better way to do it. Just for the purpose of this build though, and for the purpose of the stream. Just to save time. So, but honestly, when this video is done, tomorrow before I run any tests or anything, I'll put the fans on the other side. So it'll all work out, I promise.
And I mean, a lot of it's preference, like we were saying before. Some people, for some reason, like to put their drives in first. I've seen plenty of that. Like, no, I put the drives in first. That way I know where I'm going to run the cable. I'm like, yeah, well, what about the video card? Everything, those are the cables I'm worried about.
Yep. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to throw the block on the CPU. So in order to do that, all we need is this little top piece here. So essentially the way this is going to work is we have our block here. I don't want to try to bend it too much to show you guys, but here's the little piece I'm talking about. This tends to just go right over top here. Like that. We put our 4 little screws in the back plate, and this just comes right down, and you secure it all in. So pretty straightforward process. For those of you wondering, underneath this little plastic tab that gets removed, there's pre-applied thermal paste, so there's no need to go applying any of that. Very common question with liquid coolers. So before we install that, we just have to get the screws on there, which these are the ones that I was talking about earlier that are actually 2 different lengths. So we're just gonna install that guy there. There's 1, 2. People are really fighting in the chat about the proper fan configuration.
I like to use a house fan on the outside, one of the CPU fans on the inside, and I like to put a little, right there, get it on Spitfire, right there, get it done, man. I try to tell you.
Yeah, and especially if this thing is going to be like sitting in an air-conditioned room, it won't make too much of a difference. I mean, if you're being really scientific about it and you're actually measuring the temperatures, you might see a degree or two. But I mean, if it's like a really hot room or something, then yeah, I could see it making a difference in that kind of an environment.
Like I said, everyone's going to have their preference.
Yeah. Okay, so now in addition, so we have all 4 screws around the block now. There's these little guys that just go right on top. They just screw in and you can secure them down. You can see it's a little Phillips bit. And there's 4 of those, as you could probably imagine. So, and the way that I always do these is you don't get the screwdriver out right away. Kind of snug them in first, then just give them a good twist, because you don't want to over tighten them, because then you could just bend pins and it's just bad news bears. I always like a little pet peeve of mine is when someone installs a cooler like this and the logo's sideways or upside down. Pet peeve, I can't do it. So I have to have the Corsair logo, up and displayed properly and proud, because it does glow, so it does attract some attention. Yeah. And if it was a closed system, like not an open or a clear window, not as big of a deal, but still.
Hi, Joey. Someone said hi. So
Hey.
How's it going? How's things been? It's been a long time.
What's the monitor thing in the background? If you mean that, that's an iMac G3.
I raised your iMac G3 to an eMac 2004.
800 megahertz, baby.
Yeah, you can't. Let's see. From my shot, you probably can't see it. It's like directly past the XPS. Let me move my big head out of the way. It's like right past here. I'd bring it over here, but it's heavy.
Oh yeah, those things are boat anchors, dude. Those things could sink the Titanic.
Yep, works just fine though. Let's see.
Yeah, that iMac G3 is actually my primary server.
Yeah. I do all my Final Cut Pro rendering on that.
Yep.
Now I didn't say it was fast. I said I do it on there. Oh man, that thing's hilarious. I like the old school. Actually, hold on. I will go grab this.
This one's worth it. Okay, so not tightening these down too tight, just getting them to where they're just starting to really tighten up.
Guys, I mean, we all use different types of mice, keyboards, mechanical, whatever you want. But what about this old school mouse?
Oh yeah,
no scroll wheel. Oh, that would be horrible to use.
That brings back memories.
Yeah, it all works. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to use it here for a second. Nah, how about nah, I'm good.
I mean, it'd probably work if you plugged it in.
It works, but I've already got 1, 2, 3 mice hooked. And
so why not go for a 4th?
2 keyboards, 3 mice. Yeah. So
all I did there was just plug in the power cable for the block into the CPU optional, and then I don't know, I'll make the fan, I'll say on the left, the primary fan, so then I'll plug that one into the CPU fan. But I mean, these are all 4 pins on this board. All the fan headers are 4 pins, so it really shouldn't make too big of a difference which one's being plugged into. And again, this cable management will not stay like this at all. I'm just kind of rushing, for the purpose of the build. So don't be like, oh my God, cable management, it's awful. The first cable is like the power supply one that I want to do right from the get-go, because I don't want to have to touch that again. But I mean, just the fan cable, I can always tidy that up later, and I'm going to remove the fans anyway, so really not too concerned about it. So Dante, we have a GPU, we got RAM, we got a solid state. What sounds good? What floats your boat?
How about we do that good old? Well, what's left? The GPU?
Yeah, we have the GPU and the RAM,
Let's
and the
do the RAM
drivers.
while everything's pretty much,
Okay.
easily accessible. Now this is tricky, guys. Pay attention because putting this RAM in the wrong way, that's a
Bad
wrap.
news bears. So here we have the Vengeance LPX. This is a 32 gig kit. If you missed it earlier, this is again 32 gigs, but it has 4 8 gig sticks, so it's not like 8 4 gigs or anything. Because again, I don't like to do that. I like to max out each
I know that's
DIM
right.
if I can. So here's 2 of the sticks. So this is a total of 16 right here. By the way, which is what I have in my system, my personal system. I just have 16 at the moment. I really would like to make the jump to 32, but there's no immediate need, so I'd rather save money.
I hear you.
So for these ones, I believe you use on this board, it'd be the gray sockets first. There's gray and black. And if I remember correctly, I think it's all the gray first. So we're going to do that. But I mean, either way, I don't think RAM is too finicky in that regard anymore. It used to be like super strict. Like if you use the
Yes.
wrong DIM anywhere,
Oh
you
my
just wouldn't
gosh.
post. Now there are, optimized configurations, but you could put the stick of RAM dang near anywhere and it's still going to post. So, I mean, I'm going to go with the gray slots because if I do remember correctly, and I know it does say it's like printed on the PCB and you can read the manual and it's all in there. But again, I don't like to read. Corsair Dominator, better for a workstation RAM.
Uh, you know, it's back to the how are you using it? You know,
Yeah.
like I have non ECC RAM in my Mac Pro, and yeah, it's
It
fine.
works.
Oh man, I get so many comments like, "You using non-ECC RAM, you gonna mess that system up there, buddy." And
It
not a single
runs
problem. Well, the thing is,
fine.
it's not running like it's I never really turn it off, but it's not. It doesn't have that much load on it like it's a server like that, And
Yeah.
sorry, I got something on the camera
Yeah, I mean,
here.
if this was like literally like a workstation, that's going to have like 90% CPU, 95% RAM
Exactly. So then that
utilization
error code
always.
correcting would help with that.
Yeah.
But in this environment, no. At this point, especially when you're in IT or just in the computers things, you have to do things to what they are. Socket and support. Like, does the CPU support this? Yes. Will it fit? Yes. Will it turn on? Yes. It's just one of those things. If it's DDR3, go ahead, throw that thing in there.
Yeah.
And you should be good. And that's in between, what 10600, 1333, and 1600 if you're just doing it that way. But yeah, at that point, I don't think it would matter.
Yeah.
Everyone says, oh, it's not going to run at the highest efficiency. I beg to differ on
I
that.
guarantee you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if you're watching the stream and you've never installed RAM before, you don't know what the heck I'm doing. Super simple. I mean, I'll just walk you guys through it. Each RAM stick nowadays has 1 notch. Back in the day, they used to have like 2 notches, and I mean, it was different times. But nowadays, there's just one, and it's off-centered, so you can only install it one way. So on the slot, and especially on boards like this that have more than 4 RAM slots, on this side versus this side, they're actually oriented differently. So if you try to put, this side, like say for example, this notch is off centered in this direction, it works fine on that side. This way, if you don't flip it, you're going to mess up your socket. So you have to make sure that you pay attention to where that little notch is, little separator is on the RAM slot. So like I said, on this side, it went this way, but on the right of the CPU, it goes this way. So something very important to keep in mind so you don't go trashing your memory DIMMs. Okay. If it wants to go in, I mean, hold on.
Oh boy.
Something so simple.
This is the advanced section, guys. Get ready.
There we go. I mean, the tab was down and everything. It just
I'll see if I
wasn't.
got some old. This
There we
RAM
go.
is. This is DDR2. Just trying to see if I had some RAM old enough, like handy, to see the
Yeah.
two Yeah,
I think most geeks do have at least like 3 or 4 RAM sticks just
Oh
laying
yeah,
around,
you know you're a
minimum.
geek when you can quickly grab a processor. That's a Xeon processor.
Yeah.
RAM, optical drive,
Yep, that's the life of a geek.
keyboard, mice, some sort of a docking something. And this is just all on my desk. Hard drives. Um, and everybody's probably got at least one of these, like a bad drive that you opened. You know, so you can actually see you probably guys can probably see the reflection in it and
Yep,
everything. Everyone's got one of these.
absolutely.
Somewhere. So yeah, I just think that's funny. It's just
The life of a geek.
it's like the Geek Starter Kit,
Yep. Geek survival kit.
Right. So,
All right, well, all 32 gigs of RAM is now in place. So, we have some people in the chat talking about GPUs. What do you say we install this 980?
I say we go ahead and do that, Bob.
Alrighty, sweet deal. So here we have the 980. Let me go ahead and get a front shot of this for you guys as well. So here's the GTX 980, 4 gig card, GDDR5. I'm not exactly sure of all the different frequencies off the top of my head. However, this does not have a standard display configuration. Like the DisplayPort HDMI and 2 DVIs, like a lot of cards do nowadays. This actually has, I think, 2 or 3 display ports, 1 HDMI and 1 DVI. So it's definitely a different configuration, but as far as I know, very compatible with OS X. I'm not sure you could use all 5 ports at once. That'd be interesting if you want to have 5 displays.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can do that or not. It would come down to frame buffers and all that fun
Right.
stuff in OS X. But very cool card, and I'll go ahead and I'll show you what I mean by that. Let me invert this for a second here. So let's take this out of the box. And this is a reference-based card. It's not like the Gigabyte that has the WindForce cooling, and all these different manufacturers have different cooling systems on these GPUs. This is just the reference design, how it was, I guess, quote unquote, or as intended, I guess you could say. So, like with most NVIDIA GPUs, you get like all these accessories those are still in the box, but you get like posters and you get all kinds of stickers and all that fun stuff. But here's the card itself. So let's go ahead and prop this plastic open. And honestly, awesome looking cards. I love the reference design NVIDIA cards, especially these ones. I mean, you can hear that it's actually metal. I mean, this thing has some weight to it. And one thing that I really like about these newer cards, once I get this plastic out of the way here, is if you look on the back here, the motherboard, the PCB, isn't exposed. I mean, there's actually like a little back plate on there. It looks really nice.
Awesome.
And through like the front
I actually didn't
here.
know that about that one.
Yeah, I think it's starting with the 900 series.
Okay.
I think they have this little nice back plate on there, which looks really cool. I think it even has some cooling properties. Like it probably helps keep the whole board a bit cooler. Through here, there's like a little window. You can actually see all the heat fins on there and the typical blower fan. This basically is a Titan. It's the same exact form factor. It looks just like it, aside from the GTX 980 branding. And it's 4 gigs instead of 6, or 12 for the new Titan cards, which are just disgusting.
Yeah. Let's not even talk about that.
Yeah, that's gross.
Man.
But hey, if you have one in your system, feel free to post it or lend it to us if you want. Okay, so I'm going to install the GPU in this first PCI slot here. So that means I'm going to have to take these first 2 because it's a dual width GPU, like most are. There's a few triple, not too many singles around anymore. Width I'm talking about, but so we're going to get our trusty screwdriver here, and we're going to take out the first 2 PCI. I call them PCI gates or cages. Everyone has their name for these little things. But this is all they are.
Every nerd's probably got about 100 of those laying around somewhere.
Yeah. Especially when you build computers for people and they don't want the extra little pieces. I mean, I keep
They're like,
them
nah,
around,
just keep
but
it. And you're like,
okay, I have 1,000, but okay. Yeah, Sage backplates are mainly luxury. What is to be expected with a $600 card? Yeah. There should be some luxurious properties about it.
Yeah, most manufacturers would say it's the branding. That's why it's $600. My name's on it.
Exactly. So, first PCI slot. Now, pay attention. This is like the RAM. It's really like rocket science, so, stay sharp. What we're going to do is we're just going to, if you've never installed the GPU before, I'm surprised you're here, but I won't judge. So, obviously, you just line up the little, the pins with the slot, and you apply pressure. So something like that. Now, before I push down, let me get a look at the other side. And then also, really quick, something to cover here. You want this, there's on each side, or I guess I should say on the right side of each PCI slot, there's a little tab. You always want to make sure it's down. I mean, when you install the card. And then once it's installed, the tab clicks up and locks the card. So around that guy there. Just in case you didn't already know that, because there might be a few of you. Who knows? So actually another thing too, I'm going to try to push these hoses up on our liquid cooler just because they're kind of hitting the card right here. And again, Dante, as we were talking about earlier, these cards are so long now.
Yeah.
It's easy to run into that. It's not really a problem, but I mean, if you can avoid it, avoid it.
Yes. I mean, I've had cases that were like you probably could get a sheet of paper in between.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh. But like I said, that's another thing that manufacturers are actually, they've taken into consideration in moving the drive bays, and that's why you end up having more 2.5-inch drive bays versus 5 1/4. So, I'm sorry, 3.5 bays and all that. And, so it saves space, and overall it just helps out, especially being able to actually work in the case,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the card's in place. For those of you who are wondering, this is a dual 6-pin power, so I'll cover that in a second here, but it's good to see that. I mean, a lot of cards now are like an 8 and a 6, so this is just 2 6s, which I think is more simple, which I'm surprised for how powerful the card is. It must draw some power. Only being dual 6, I think, is a little better. So now we just have to take out or put back in the same screws that we took out to get those little cages off to make sure the card's secured in place.
Is that card super clocked? I'm sorry if I missed that.
I believe it is, yes.
Okay.
And like I was saying, I'm not exactly sure of the exact frequencies, but if you just go on Newegg and just type EVGA GTX 980, it's going to be like the first result. And then if you're interested, you can get all the frequencies there. But yes, this one is super clocked. It's just overclocked right out of the box.
Gotcha.
So card is secured into place. Here, in case you're wondering, those are for SLI configurations. I won't be using those, so I mean, I'll just leave this on for now. And one thing to note, if you ever want to do like client builds, whenever you ship the computer, take the card out and like wrap it up in some bubble wrap or something and just put it in the case.
There hasn't been an issue with this, has
No,
there?
never. I shipped the
you?
client build once, and I mean, honestly, the GPU wasn't that heavy. I put a lot of bubble wrap in here to support it, and I mean, the box arrived to him absolutely destroyed. It was an entire process. I mean, we eventually did get the money for it, like the claim went through, but it was a lot of wasted time. I mean, the card, like I said, wasn't like a card like this that was made of metal and really heavy, but the entire slot just broke off. I mean, the person responsible for shipping that, like the actual courier, must have just dropped that computer because all the components were just all over the place, and it was terrible, and it took a long time, but we did. I mean, whenever I ship a computer, I ship it for the full amount, insured and everything, and I ship it correctly so that when they come and examine it, they can't say I did anything wrong. So like I said, we did get the money and we built the new machine, but it was just a lot of wasted time. So
Yeah,
expect like when
pictures
you
of it would make you throw up.
yeah,
I mean,
it was disgusting. So
disgusting.
if you ever ship a computer to anybody, assume it's going to have a rough shipment and just detach whatever you can that's not really like 100% not going anywhere. It'll save a lot of time in your life, trust me.
Very true.
But GPU is in. I think all that's left, aside from just plugging in, the electrical connections for the GPU, is just the drive.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and we'll install one of the SSDs. I won't bore you guys in installing both because it's literally the same process twice.
Is he going for a RAID configuration or anything that you know of?
Not that I know of. I believe he just wants to have one for Windows and one for OS 10.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not 100% sure about that, but from the emails going back and forth, it seemed that's what he was going for. Okay.
Somebody earlier said something like, "Put elementary OS on it." I actually I like Linux, man. Are you guys more of like some of the Linux users? Are you guys more of the Debian side, or what,
Yep.
you know, you guys want that Ice Weasel, or you like your Mozilla Firefox? Same thing. Ice Weasel. That's funny.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the back here, I just loosened this little thumb screw, and this is the SSD mount. So all we're going to do is grab one of these SSDs, and on the back here, there's just 4, little holes. Now in our little
Eric. Oh, that's funny.
What up, Eric? What's up, man? Eric Yoakum, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat.
He is in the chat room. Yeah, we've had some mad GTA sessions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm considering bringing some GTA streaming to my channel. I mean, it's kind of an inappropriate game, so I don't know how I feel about putting it on my channel, but it's fun.
Oh, man.
There have been some amazing sessions on that game, trust me.
Definitely.
And I'm sure those of you guys in the chat know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you guys have ever played GTA 5 for PC, whew,
I mean, any console or anything, but especially PC.
yes.
Now, I'm trying to find the screws for the solid-state drive. And I don't see them. But then again, I can be blind sometimes. I mean, they look like these. I don't think these are them, though. Mr. Jonathan Taylor is also here from the Minecraft server days. But yeah, so these are the screws that look like they're it, but I don't think so, especially because there's only 3 in the bag.
Oh, boy.
And I don't think I touched a 4th, so I don't think that's it. But the problem is, I don't see any other screws around here. Those are all for the cooler. Let me just see what these screws are. And I mean, I have a million extra of these screws, so it's not an issue. I can always go grab those if I really need to, but let's see if I can't just get these ones.
Sage of Light has a good point about booting. Pretty much when you're using 2 SSDs, one for Windows and one for OS 10, do you find a solution for Clover not booting Windows unless it's the first boot drive?
I'm sorry, what was the question, sir?
Basically having, operating system on 2 different drives, trying to get Clover to not default to booting the Windows unless it's the first boot drive.
What I usually do in that case is I open up Clover Configurator, like on the OS 10 side, and there's an option where you can actually specify the volume of the default for Clover. So like I have Windows on one drive and then OS 10 on the other. They're both UEFI. And so when I because my boot priority now is set to my OS 10 drive, which has Clover on it. Mm-hmm. And so when Clover comes up, it defaults to OS 10.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to, I could go into Clover Configurator on the Mac and say default boot volume to the name of the drive. So for example, Windows EFI or something. And then it'll automatically go to that one, even though I'm booting from the OS 10 drive. It'll default to actually booting into Windows. I'm pretty sure that's what you meant. But I cannot for the life of me find these screws. I tried like 3 different little bags here, and none of them work.
Well, I'm not a detective, Bob, but you're the only one there. So the criminal's in the building. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
We will find who stole my screws. Yeah, I mean, MacMan also, yeah, you could just do the boot sequence in the BIOS where you could just tell it not to go to OS 10 at all.
That's
If you just
true.
want to boot like your Windows volume, then it'll just go right to Windows. But then if you want to boot into OS 10, then you don't have like a nice bootloader that you can select that. Yeah, these screws, they're gone. I don't know who took them, but I've been robbed.
We should start like a who done it, type
Yeah.
thing.
Someone's going to get
Search for
sued
Bob
tonight.
Screws for the Hackintosh build. Live X99 Hackintosh build tonight. Can anyone solve the mystery of the lost screws?
With deep voice Bob.
Man, if you guys don't know about Deep Voice Bob,
You're missing
it's been a running joke for like a year. We were having some audio issues with Wirecast and Skype and everything, doing Tech Habit Weekly, and one time Bob was just trying to see, make sure that we could hear him, and his voice came across. I don't know if it's the way the audio decoded it. I don't know what happened, but it was so deep. It was like scary, So
yeah,
that's
it was just
been a
like
running
like an
joke.
audio burp or something,
It's
but it
like,
was so
"Yeah,
drawn out.
Is everything all right? I mean, how does the thing sound? I'm going to ready to stream on route. I'm like, whoa. I mean, it was weird. It was like something out of a scary movie. So, in case Deep Voice Bob shows up, you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You guys might not like it.
Yeah.
It's about
It
as
was,
bad as going to a Miley Cyrus concert while listening to Miley Cyrus with your headphones on your phone at the same time
Yeah.
while watching one of her videos.
Which, I mean, I just don't recommend doing.
Oh man.
Yeah, they're gone. I honestly don't think I don't think this case came with any that would fit like the little holes here. There's some that are close. There's like 6 screws that are close, but nothing actually fits into here. I really don't think this little box that comes with the case included them, and I know for a fact they didn't come with the drives. Because the drives just came in like this plastic little enclosure.
Yeah, that little skinny, yeah.
Yeah, so there was no or screws or anything in there. So, I think we might just go ghetto for the purpose of the stream, just not taking forever to find some screws.
Oh boy.
But okay, so really
This is
quick.
where we lose all professionalism.
Exactly. we're going to do it live is what we're going to do. The drive, essentially, there's 4 holes, which go on here. This whole thing then goes right in there, and the whole drive here, let me give you guys a little closer up of a shot here. The whole drive just sits on the back of the system, literally like this, and then your cables just come however. I mean, you can angle it up like this or down like this, then the cables would be down here. But however you really want to do it, however it fits best in your system, very simple. And then whenever you want to take the drive off, you literally just take the 2 cables out, give this thumb screw a twist, and then the whole thing just comes out on the tray and everything. So it's a really nice mechanism. However, I just don't think Fractal included the screws. I don't know if that was accidental or what, but every case I've ever built in has had them very obviously there. Stage Light, are you going to use the SSD mount on the back plate? That's what we're going for, but I'll have to dig some screws out of my personal collection, apparently, because I've searched this entire table and I haven't left
Everyone's
this
got
table.
a personal collection of screws.
At least every geek has a personal
Yeah.
collection of screws.
Because sometimes you're just like, I might need that.
Yeah, I mean,
then
especially
it
like when
just
you
gets ridiculous.
when you do client builds. I mean, I've had a few that they didn't opt for a solid state, and the case came with the screws, and they don't want the screws. I've asked them, I'm like, hey, do you want me to include the extra screws and cables? And they're like, nah. I'm like, okay, then I mean, I can use them for something if you don't want them. And this is one of those times. This is when it's good to have extras.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally see every other type of screw. I mean, they have like these little thumb screws. There's one extra for the case screw. And I realize like the first 1 or 2 case screws are incorrect. Again, I'll fix those,
Yeah,
but
he'll
I
fix
did
them.
end up using the skinny ones, and those are all in place. Those are fine.
Blowing the chat up. They're like, he's doing it all wrong.
The
Who
world
paid
will
for
end.
this? He offers a service for this. This is bull crap. No, well, maybe not that deep, but
You got your little spacers here. These are for when you put a hard drive on here. These little guys, they're like little rubber, almost like little grommets or little holes. and those go right in these little circles, and the screw goes through there. Helps reduce vibration and things like that.
Reduce vibration, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, we can slow that motor down real quick. I'll show you how to get it done. I'm talking SSD now. Kingston 300. Try to tell you how them rewrite speeds going to work right there in that Hackintosh X99. I'm going to tell you how we're going to get it in there.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to start like another channel and just talk with a southern accent, but speak with all technical.
If anyone could pull that off, it is absolutely you.
That would be hard. It'd be hard to keep up.
Yeah. Let me try to see if I can lower this tripod, just because we're getting some terrible glare.
Yeah. It's like my eyes.
Sorry for the shaky cam. It will be
They said you
over
probably used
momentarily.
screws on the motherboard.
No, that's the thing. I didn't.
Okay.
I know for an absolute fact that that's not the case. Again, the case.
That's funny.
Okay, so hopefully this looks a little bit better. It looks like to me it does.
Yeah.
So all we're going to do just for now, and I wouldn't do this if we were using a hard drive because those actually move and spin, and I don't want that to be weird in the case. I want that to be level and the way it should be. But since solid states don't move and you can literally like shake them while they're running and nothing will happen, all I'm going to do, again, just for the purpose of, because this is a video that's live and I don't want to waste 20 minutes looking for screws, I'm just going to put the drive right there.
That'll work. Look at
It'll work just fine. And obviously, I'll secure the screws on the back plate and everything will be proper before it's shipped. But again, just for the purpose of not taking a decade to do this, we're going to
So is this like the quality control section of RocheTechnologies? Like,
Yes.
we ensure the greatest number of screws will be missing from your build.
How many screws can you actually miss?
If you guess it right, your build is free.
Find out next time on RocheTechnology. Okay, so all we're going to do now is we're just going to run a single SATA cable just to that drive right up to here. And it's cool because on X99, every single one of these is a SATA 3 port. So there's no more SATA 2 versus SATA 3.
Oh boy.
I mean, you really can't go wrong here. The only thing that you could do wrong is if you want to do like a BIOS RAID. There's only certain ports that'll work that are on that chipset, which are, I believe, the first 6 up here. It's kind of hard to see inside of here. But the first 6 usually are typically part of the onboard RAID. These ones are on a separate controller, and those won't be recognized if you were to do that. But still, we're not going for a BIOS RAID here. So literally, I mean, and again, when this system is ready to be shipped, I like to go from top down on my SATA ports. So this will be plugged into port 0, which is up here behind the GPU. But again, for the purpose of the video, that's how you plug in a SATA cable. So then SATA cable, the drive, and there you go. Rocket
I'm actually
science.
running SATA 1.5.
Oh, there you go. Back, you have your USB 1.1 too?
Oh man. That thing couldn't power like
A lot
Oh, yeah.
nowadays.
it power this.
Yeah. Okay, so next I'm just going to do the 24-pin ATX. The connector for that is up here right next to the RAM. So let me see if I can get in here a little closer. Right here. So we're just going to run this cable. See if I can focus this down. We're going to run the cable, and again, this is going to be a little sloppy, but essentially how I would end up doing it. Through this background here to try to hide it as much as possible. And then with it being run back here behind the system. So since the 24-pin ATX connector's here, grommet is right here. We're going to pass that through. Right there, you can kind of see it poking out right here. And this grommet is like kind of weird because they ran all the the cables back behind there, so you have to push those all out of the way first. But so this cable is now in here, and now we're just going to kind of twist it around. And I know my hands are in the way, so it's not the best shot in the world, but there's really not too much room to do this. But you just line it up, and this only can go in one way, so if you find that it's not going in, don't sit there and force it because you're going to break it. So, and you'll see it too because there's a little tab on the right side. But there you go. So that's now in place. You can wiggle it, and it's not going anywhere. So there's that. And then down here, we're getting really down to it now. Here's like a USB 3.0 header. Here we have the front audio, so like the line in and out. We have a power switch, hard drive LED, power LED, and last thing I'll run are the PCI power up here. Let me move this camera. PCI power for the GPU, and then just one SATA power for our drive. So we're gonna find our cables in our little modular collection, and most of the times they're very clearly marked. That one says, it's kind of hard to focus right now, but trust me, it says PCIe.
But can we trust the man who lost the screws?
Maybe you can't.
Tune in next week, a part 2 of the live X99 Hackintosh build, as Bob finds the screws.
We're gonna figure this out. I gotta get the sound bites right, and then I'm gonna be able to hit those so everybody can hear them.
All right, that works. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll try to spin this around a little bit. I have a bunch of boxes.
Better view of that gigantic machine. Oh, it's ridiculous.
I love the red front.
The LEDs are like they're way too bright on it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
but
they're
that was
white
just the thing back
LEDs,
then.
and it was like,
Once people figured out to put LEDs on a computer, that was it.
I know. Then everybody started selling those cheap like Chinese strips to them.
They're like Chinese. Oh, I got to switch to turn the light on.
Will this run Minesweeper at 4 on Ultra? What do you think, Dante? Will this run Minesweeper? I don't think he's got his headphones in.
There we go. That's a little bit better.
Okay, so on the front of the power supply here, which I know it's hard to see with all the cables here, but there's just a bunch of inputs because this is a modular power supply. And let me see if I can't get a little bit of extra light on the unit here. I really don't know how well this is going to come out. And again, I apologize for the lighting. There's just only so much I can do. But you can see those little red ports. Those are just where the power cables go in. And so you get, as you saw earlier in the video, just a huge stack of them. And so you just literally find where they fit, count the pins, put them in. And now, again, we're going to do some rough cable management. It's not going to be perfect at all, but essentially the same exact thing as that 24-pin ATX. We're just going to pass it around the back. And then we're going to bring it through the grommets here. Like that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the GPU has two 6-pins for power. And most cables nowadays have this little 6+2 thing where there's 6 pins already, and then if you need 8, then you could just combine it and there's 8. But we won't need that since it's just 2 6s. So then you just do that, and now one of the 2 is in, and then we literally just do that the whole process twice. So I know this is extremely exciting. Just edge of your seat material. Did you know the Surface Pro is capable of Hackintosh?
Really?
I have read that. I've never
I
tried
haven't.
it.
Have you heard of anybody like actually doing it like a complete one?
I've heard of it happening. I don't know if it was 100% functional. I doubt it.
Well, I doubt the touch. I mean, how would that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think it has been like installed before, but in terms of usability, I'm really not sure. I'm really not a fan of the Surface, though. I mean, at work, there's a few people that have them, and in general, they work. And maybe it was just Windows 8, but there was just so many driver problems on them. The Wi-Fi was constantly dropping, and I just don't think they're all what they're cracked up to be honest.
Yeah. At work, I use a Lenovo Helix. It's pretty much the Lenovo Surface. And same thing. It's just I don't know. We have so many problems with them.
Yeah.
Driver issues, Intel NIC problem, port replicator problem. Matter of fact, here's a port replicator right here. It's I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. And then with it being so small and having a 1080p display, most people use it as a laptop, not as a tablet, and it's almost forcing you to use it as a laptop just because the orientation of it is weird. To have it in portrait, like when you hold it in portrait, it's just weird. It just doesn't look like it's supposed to be held like that.
Yeah.
You know, the ports are weird and weird placements for them. The speakers, they're horrible. Yeah, a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they work,
they
but
work,
I mean,
you know, it's just
I would
don't
never
prefer
use
it.
one full time.
right. Yeah.
But so there's that. And now the only other cable I'm going to run is just a SATA power connection, which, if you're not familiar, looks something like that. So very, 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 very similar process as to the two GPU power leads we just did. And one thing that's interesting about this power supply is it actually includes a second CPU power connector, because there are boards that have a total of two of these for like crazy overclocking. And I've actually used a few of those boards. This is not one of them, so I find it weird that this is permanently attached, even though a lot of boards don't have this connection. So, I mean, it's just kind of an extra thing. Maybe the user of this computer in the future will buy one of those motherboards and really want to overclock, and they'll be able to. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything by being there, but most people, I don't think, will end up using that.
Right.
Okay. And this is a very, very long cable. I mean, it goes from there. So you have your four power connectors per one cable is standard. And then there's a ton of extra space. So this is like a very long cable here. Let me switch over just really quick to the main camera. I mean, this thing is like a good, 3-4 feet. So just for 4 static connectors. I mean, it's good though, because you could really run it behind the board and really hide it. I don't like having these that are not long enough, and I know there's more funny jokes in there.
Wow. Well, you might as well just start putting GTA 5 on your channel, because
Yeah,
as bad
yeah.
as this is going,
We just went there again.
there's enough filth on this.
So again, we're just going to find the corresponding connector for this on the power supply, which on this particular model is over here. And now, just because of the terrible mess I'm in right now with the screw situation and the drive just being right here, I'm not going to bother to run the cable all nice back behind the tray, because I just have to run it back out here for now. So if you've never hooked up a drive before, cable, drive, they become one. And there you go. So your solid state's now plugged in. Same process for any 3.5 inch hard drive, 2.5. It's all the same, unless you're talking like enterprise stuff where it's on a tray and you just slide it right in, or like a Mac Pro.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I actually like it.
Yeah, I love that.
What he's saying is like something like this that
Yeah.
actually has a tray. Pull this open and pull your drive right out. So, yeah, just a little different design for it.
Yep, stuff is fun. Those are like nice hot swap
Yeah.
chassis, and those are
I
awesome.
like them. Yes.
But terrible cable management aside, I know there's going to be some fun comments on this video about that. And trust me, guys, I know that this is messy. I mean, I would never actually ship it like this. This is a train wreck. But I don't want to take another hour just for cables in this video. I just don't feel that it would be worth it. So look on my video or on my channel for a finished build video, maybe in the next few days, in the next week or so. I will upload something, and trust me, it's going to look far better. You won't recognize the thing. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to begin to wrap things up here. All the components are in aside from the optical drive, but again, it's just an optical drive.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you've seen me install a hard drive or a solid state in this case, it's going to be the exact same thing, just a bigger unit. So what I'll do is, actually, let me switch back to this camera really quick, just for a very quick and dirty overall kind of side pan. So something like that. And I know it's going to be really bad with the lighting, so that's why I'm going to use the front camera here in a second. But there you go. I mean, it's going to look something like that. I mean, when the machine's actually on, the Corsair logos will be glowing. This little GeForce GTX will be lit up nice and green, which, like I said earlier, is going to look awesome with that transparent side panel. These actually look kind of cool too, these little red power connectors, because it's kind of like a red on green on black on silver. So it's kind of like an interesting color combination on that little area. And then there will be the 2 terabyte hard drive over here somewhere. So that's pretty much it for the build. And again, I will switch over to this camera. Move this guy out of the way. And we'll flip this guy around. And so there we have it. A complete but extremely messy wiring job, I guess, of a computer. So the stream now has been going on for about 2.5 hours. I know some of you guys have requested in this video to boot it up and actually install OS 10 and get it up and running. Honestly, I don't think right now it's worth it, because I do have some other stuff to do tonight, and this has been 2.5 hours. I know Dante does as well. And so what I'll do is in the video description of this video, when it's actually on my channel for you guys to rewatch, just look in the video description for that. I actually have the exact same motherboard in my machine, in which I have a full video on both UniBeast and with Clover on how to get the system booted. And that's going to be a lot more detailed than anything I can do right now live. So if you guys want to see the install process, then that's going to be where to see it. Because after all, I mean, this is just a build video, and I mean, the computer's built. So I guess for what we'll do right now, if you just came for the build, I guess this is where we're going to stop. I mean, the system's together. If we plug it in, assuming there's no bad components, which I'm not going to test on air, but assuming, like I said, there's no bad components, it'll boot right up, and then we can put in our UniBeast drive and just be on our way. So if you guys came here for the build, that's concluded, but stick around for 10-15 minutes or so, maybe more, who knows, just for some post-show stuff. And that'll be it for the live X99 Hackintosh build. So if you guys are kind of peacing out, as the cool kids say now, thank you guys very much for coming out. We had, I think, consistently over 100 live viewers, which for a Wednesday night at 7, 8 o'clock, it's a lot more than I could have thought I could ask for. So thank you guys very much for all your support. Like I said, I know this video was rough at times, not having the screws, which I still blame you guys. Someone stole them. Someone stole the screws. The cable management obviously is terrible, but like I said, come back on my channel in a few days and you'll see the finished build, complete with the solid state, mounted on the right tray, cables run nice, system glowing, running OS 10. And I hope to even have a few benchmarks, just versus my machine, maybe have like a 5820K versus 5930K video to see if maybe you can justify the extra $200 cost just based on CPU marks or anything like that. So if you guys came for the build, again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you back on my channel in a few days.